Good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and start our regular meeting for Monday, April 27th, 2020. I would like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. We will now do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Member Sullivan, so moved.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
Johnny Favalis, second.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if our city administrator would please call the roll call.
Yes, Councilmember Favalis,
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schlueter,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Item number 4, presentations. Police Officer Travis Mukau, appreciation. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of the City Council, we have a police officer that is leaving the city of Sueur. Travis Mukau has been with the city of Sueur for 15 years and 9 months, I believe. So he's been part of Sueur for quite some time. I do have Aaron Tiki here, who is the police captain. I just unmuted Aaron. I think he's got a couple things to say. Aaron, can you hear me? I think he's maybe trying to talk here or get that worked out. But yeah, Travis has been with us for 15 years and nine months, and he'll be dearly missed on the police force. Big shoes to fill. So I'll try to maybe if Aaron's not working, I'll maybe put the police chief Bruce Kelly on the spot and see if he's got anything to say.
Yes, I can.
Oh, there's Aaron. We got Aaron live. So Aaron, I'll leave it. I'll kick it
Captain
off to you.
Tiki, welcome.
Can you hear
Welcome,
me?
Captain Tiki. Yes, we can. Go ahead, Captain Tiki. Hello?
It looks like he's having a little technical difficulty. Says he's self-muted, so I don't know if he can hear us. This is what we deal with sometimes. I did unmute Bruce, or Police Chief Kelly.
Chief Kelly? Yeah, Chief Kelly, would you like to say some words?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chief Kelly.
Yes, I would, I don't know if we're going to get Captain Tiki back, but I'd like to say that Travis is certainly missed. He's been gone, going through some medical things for some time now, and he's been a very good police officer. I remember when we hired him back in 2004. You know, you never know what you're going to come with, and you don't know how they're going to establish themselves. And Travis really not only became a police officer here, but he was a member of the community, and he still is a member of the community. And we look forward to seeing him in civilian life. But he was involved in a lot of things. He was with our firearms training, and hopefully he can still help me out with my bike rodeo during safety camp, but he's a great guy, and he will be missed, and that's what I say to that.
Thank you so much. Do we have Captain Tiki yet?
Mayor Hague, this is Jasper. I don't believe Aaron. He looks like he must be having some technical difficulties. But if there's any council members that would like to say anything, we do have a certificate of appreciation we're going to be sending around to city council members to get signatures on, and then sending off to Travis here as soon as we can. So yeah, but if there's anything that city council wants to say, I know that a lot of you have gotten to know Travis quite well over the years. He's been, like as Bruce indicated, a member of the community and very well known. So I'll turn it over to the group.
I'd like to go ahead and start. Officer Mukau, this is Mayor Haig. It's been an absolute privilege to have the opportunity to get to know you these many years. And I wish you fair winds and following seas in your future. And if there's anything you need, please do not hesitate to reach out. Wish you all nothing but the best. It's been a privilege, like I said, to get to know you. Any of our other council members wish to say anything?
This is Councilmember Krogman. Travis, thanks so much for your service. It's deeply appreciated. Perhaps one of the hallmarks of a police officer in a community is how well they're known, and you are well known, well respected, and we do very much appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Krogman.
Mayor
This
Haig,
is
this is
Councilmember
Member Sullivan.
Oh, go ahead, Marvin. Go ahead, Marvin.
Councilmember Sullivan, go ahead.
Travis, if you're out there tonight, I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for our community. I've had the opportunity to get to know you pretty well on a personal level. The rapport you build with everybody you come into contact with is greatly appreciated. And as a city councilman, I just want to reach out and say thank you for everything you've done for our community over the last 15 years.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan. Next.
Councilmember Huntington.
Go ahead, Councilmember Huntington.
Just like Marvin, Travis, you did a great job. I know you well personally too, as well. But thank you for all the work you did in the community, and you're well liked, that's for sure. So I really appreciate all you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Huntington. Anybody else?
Councilmember Favalis.
Councilmember Favalis, please go ahead.
Travis, thank you for everything that you've done for this community. The job is not an easy job, and certainly not everybody could do it, and you did it very, very well. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Councilmember Favalis. Anybody else?
Councilmember Kirby, real quick. Travis, thanks for everything. I got to know him pretty well on a professional and private level. Usually one of the first guys I'd see when I was engaged professionally with a lot of the families we served, and he was always very helpful and very, very good resource for the families and for myself also. So thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Councilmember Kirby. Councilmember Schlueter, anything?
I just wanted to thank you for your service, Travis. Good luck.
Thank you, Councilmember Schlueter. And again, Officer Mukau, on behalf of the entire city council for the city of Sueur, thank you for everything. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, and we wish you nothing but the best moving forward into this next chapter of your life. Thank you again. Okay.
Mayor Haig, this is Jasper Krugel again. If Aaron, I don't know if he's still out there, he might have audio. I don't know if you want to give it a shot, Aaron, one last time.
Yeah. Captain Tiki, you out there?
All right, I think we're still having some technical difficulties.
I think what we can do, City Administrator Krugel, is once we do establish connection with Captain Tiki, we could still allow an opportunity for him to say his kind words in regards to Officer Mukau. Fair enough?
Very well, yep.
Okay. So we'll now go ahead and move on to our consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and have been made available to the city council at least 2 days in advance of the meeting. The items will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the agenda and considered in normal sequence. We have 2 items on our consent agenda tonight. The first item is the city council meeting minutes for April 13th, 2020, which we have a revised version, and also our disbursement approvals through April 27th, 2020. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to accept tonight's consent agenda.
Councilmember Krogman, I so move.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Councilmember Huntington, I second.
Okay, so Councilmember Huntington's going to go ahead and second. Is there any discussion, gentlemen? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? City Administrator Krugel, if you please do the roll call.
Yes, Councilmember Favelis,
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
Mayor Hay.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next item on the docket is our public comment. Public comment provides an opportunity for the public to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Persons wishing to make a comment must sign up in advance of the meeting on the sheet provided and identify themselves by providing a name and address. I believe we have one individual tonight, Mr. Jason Tues, would like to address City Council, and will do so with the following guidelines. Negative remarks about city staff or employees are not allowed. You'll have a time limit of 5 minutes to make your comment. The total public comment period shall be 30 minutes for non-agenda items and 30 minutes per agenda items. Disruptive or disorderly behavior will not be tolerated. And please understand that as you address City Council during public comment, we are strictly in a position where we actually listen to what an individual has to say. We are not in a position where we can make comment at this time. And with that said, Mr. Tues, if you'd like to go ahead and address City Council, the floor is yours, sir.
Yes, thank you, Council, for this opportunity. My name is Jason Tues, and I live at 123 Woods Drive. And I bought this property back in 2012. And the reason that I bought this property in this neighborhood was because of lot size and the uses that the current residents were already using their property for. I didn't buy a 3-acre lot because I love to mow. I bought a 3-acre lot because we had young children and we love to be outside and do the activities that involve being outside, one of those being riding ATVs. Having this lot provided that opportunity, my kids could learn to do that in our backyard. Also, one of the uses that the other residents of this neighborhood have used is accessory buildings. So my concern today is about City Code 153046 on accessory buildings and uses. You've stated under between point 16 and 17 that lot sizes greater than 3 acres are allowed to have 4,000 square feet of accessory building. You also have a designation for smaller lot sizes. By going off of that, I believe the spirit of what you're trying to accomplish is that different lot sizes should be considered for different avenues for building size. I also believe that that should be generalized in height of structure. Point 13 underneath that same code limits to a 15-foot height building. That is very restrictive on the size of building that I can put up and utilize the 4,000 square foot footprint that you've allowed me to build. Also underneath that same code, point number 9 of architectural details for accessory buildings will be the same or similar to the principal building. And it goes on with the scale and detailing, roof pitch, orientation and slope, overhang depth and details, windows on the build materials and exterior color. I believe there is places where that should be considered and probably followed in certain residential portions of the city. But looking at the neighborhood that I live in and the structures that already exist in this area and the uses that these residents are using their land for, I believe that that should be reconsidered and looked at it differently. There is other residents up here that have by permit, from what I understand, and by variance, been allowed to build structures exactly like I'm asking. And so I guess what I'm getting at with those 2 points is there needs to be a way that my property can be looked at and considered for my requests. I do have a third wish, but it's a little bit lower on my priorities. If I don't get the first 2, the third one doesn't mean anything. If you look at my property and where I would plan on putting this building, you would understand that elevation plays a pretty key role in a 3-acre lot. That's a lot of water when we get large rain events. I have portions of my lot that hold water when we have more than an inch, 2 inches of rain that happen, and also portions of my lot that helps to drain that water off. And putting this building on the north side of my property where it's the highest elevation that I have, it would avoid having to bring in a bunch of fill and then disrupt my current water flow. By doing that, I would also like to have a separate entrance to be able to access the building. And I understand that as also a city code that doesn't allow me to do that. I don't have that code in front of me. I was not able to find that. But if I built a driveway across the front of my property, across my yard to access the building, if I can get that built where I want to, then I have to build a road across where water currently flows, again, creating another water issue. We're on a cul-de-sac. I'm towards the last half of the cul-de-sac. It's a graveled city road. The traffic that we get is the residents that live up here and a small handful of additional, people that come up and drive through the neighborhood. I'm not on a main city thoroughfare. We don't have hundreds of vehicles a day coming through here. So I think that should also be looked at. And I guess I'm looking at a way so that I can get consideration for my requests.
Mr. Tooze, this is Mayor Haig. Just to be clear, you're referencing 153046 and specifically 0.16, 0.17, 0.13, and 0.09 of the building code, correct?
Yeah, underneath section B of the general regulations, it'd be 0.9. That's on the details, the A through F for the details, and then 0.13 for the height of that building. And then, like I said, I don't have the city code for the separate entranceway. I could not find and locate that city code.
And to be clear, who within the city have you already had conversations with to this point?
I have talked with I started with the, I forget his title. It was the city works or public streets manager. He said he didn't have the authority to grant that. So then I got in contact with Samantha at the city office. She handed it off to the building official, Justin Nielsen, and then back to conversation with Samantha, and then ended with conversations with the city administrator, Jasper.
Okay. Members of City Council, any questions for Mr. Tooze? Okay, hearing none, as stated, Mr. Tooze, we are not in a position where we can make any comment at this point. This is where we go ahead and start doing our research, and we'll have something for you here in the very near future in regards to how City Council can proceed on this. Fair enough, sir?
That is fair. And just one last note, there is other residents up here that are looking to do the same thing that I'm requesting.
Okay. And we have all your contact information. So,
yes, you do.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate your time to come in front of City Council. Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Okay, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to close public comment.
This is Scott Schleter. I'll make the motion.
Okay, Councilmember Schleter makes the motion. Can I get a second, please?
Member Sullivan, second.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Schleter and a second by Councilmember Sullivan. City Administrator Krugel, if you please do the roll call.
Yes. Councilmember Favolis.
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington.
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby.
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman.
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Aye.
And Mayor Haig.
Aye. Okay, we're now going to move on to our regular. We're now going to go ahead and move on to our regular agenda.
Mayor Haig,
And please go ahead.
This is Jasper. I believe we have Aaron Tiki on here. We worked through some technical difficulties. Aaron, you want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
Captain Tiki, welcome. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to say, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to address the council and Mr. Mayor and Council or Administrator Krugel. I appreciate you giving me the time. Officer Travis Muckow and his wife Monica moved to Sueur in 2004, and Travis began his law enforcement career with the Sueur Police Department that year. Monica also began to serve the city of Sueur, eventually becoming city clerk. Because both Travis and Monica served their community for many years, they've both become pillars that citizens rely on a daily basis. I first met Travis in 2007 when I was hired at the Sueur Police Department. I immediately grew to know Travis as a positive, happy-go-lucky officer that was eager to help his fellow citizen in any capacity that he could. Travis has always had the unique ability to empathize with the community he serves. Travis can approach a serious problem and not only see it from his perspective, but he has the distinct ability to put himself in someone else's shoes and see issues from their point of view. This trait is not something that can be easily learned or trained. Travis seemed to be born with the ability. Travis has been essential in teaching other officers, including myself, the importance of empathy in police work and how it can positively change any situation. It is for these reasons that Travis has become an irreplaceable asset to the Sueur Police Department. The community of Sueur has come to know Officer Travis Muckow as a reliable protector of civil and human rights. More importantly, they know Travis is a trusted community member and a friend that they can count on to bring their daily problems to and hope for a positive outcome. Officer Muckow has not only excelled at human compassion in his professional life, but he has shown that he lives by the same set of rules in his personal life. In 2018, Travis and Monica adopted their son Braden and made him the center of their family. Travis has made a career out of supporting his fellow community members in their greatest time of need. In November of 2019, Travis was diagnosed with an aggressive form of brain cancer, which is what has brought us to this point. It was with a heavy heart and great disappointment that Officer Muckow was forced to end his law enforcement career early. No doubt Travis intended to serve his community to a ripe old age, but cancer has taken that away from him. It is now that Travis is entering his time of greatest need for support, and I ask that the City Council, the community of Sueur, and the Sueur Police Department continue to show support for Officer Travis Muckow, as he has shown us support for the past 15 years. It is with great difficulty that Chief Kelly and I accepted Travis's resignation, but we did so knowing that Officer Muckow was making the right decision for his family and for himself. Travis, I have had the pleasure and am very proud to have worked alongside you for the last 14 years. I have learned a great deal from you, and I will continue to treasure our friendship. It is time for you to focus on yourself and your family, knowing that you have fulfilled your mission in serving the citizens of Sueur for the past 15 years. Travis, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all that you've done for me and for the Sueur Police Department and the city of Sueur over the last 15 years, and I will dearly miss working with you. Thank you.
Captain Tiki, thank you for the very inspirational words. And again, Officer Muckow, on behalf of the city of Sueur, our staff, our police department, and our city council, we wish you nothing but the best and thank you for your service to our city. Thank you. So now we're going to move on to our regular agenda. First item on the docket is 7 Alpha, comprehensive plan updates. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Haig, members of City Council, before you is an item it's a fairly extensive item that has been to the Planning Commission. They've evaluated it. There's been a recommendation from the Planning Commission to City Council to approve it. Essentially what we're looking at, and I'll turn it over to Community Development Director DiMaggio and our consulting city planner, Nate Sparks, here shortly to give the details of this. But what we're looking at is starting to do some amendments to our comprehensive plan. City of Sueur has a comprehensive plan. It's 2040 comprehensive plan. And what we're doing is we're kind of modifying a little bit based on what we've done outside of the comprehensive plan. So in the last year, we've updated our zoning code. And what this is doing is this is memorializing it in the comprehensive plan itself. Also, what was recommended from the Planning Commission was to create something called future land use and priority growth area. These are two maps that look at, what might happen within the city of Sueur in the future. And what this does, and what this is an integral part to complete, and it's a goal of city councils, is to complete the transportation and utility plan. So this is all tied together, all these different planning documents that we have. And what this will enable us to do is if there is something somebody that wants to be annexed outside of the city limits right now, or there's an apartment developer that wants to come into town and build an apartment somewhere, what this will do is this will allow us, more so with the future, the transportation and utility plan, really look at what the future land uses are, what the priority growth area is, what we plan for utilities in those areas, if the utilities can handle what the use is. So really giving both the planning commission and the city council tools to use to make decisions that affect the community. So this is a piece of that. We're incorporating the zoning code with this, and then also that priority growth area and future land use. So with that, I'll turn it over. I don't know if Nate, Sparks, or Samantha are available to continue the conversation. So I believe Sam just kind of went live, and I can see her. She's not muted anymore.
Good evening, Mayor Hague, members of the council. Thank you, Jasper, for that nice introduction. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. As
Yes.
Jasper pointed out, when we updated our, first of all, the city completed their comprehensive plan process. We then went through to modify our zoning code to match some of the things that were in the comprehensive plan. And as we went through our zoning ordinance, once that was completed, now we're going back through to make additional changes to the comprehensive plan. One thing that we've noticed that was originally in the comprehensive plan is they talked about the different areas of town as live, work, prosper, and conserve. And so typically we would have a more, I don't know if I want to say focused area of exactly what that means, but I think this came into light when we had a developer looking at some land here in town and it was zoned live. And when it's zoned live, it seems a little bit confusing because what type of housing was meant to go there? Was it meant to be an apartment or a single family housing? But because it was zoned live, it really wasn't very clear for the residents or for city staff. So I think going back to a more traditional method is the best method for us. Jasper, could you please go forward? Thank you. So as we discussed, live is where Sueur residents will call home, and that's going to be our housing districts. Staff is proposing that we go back to traditional residential uses. Those would be low density. Those will be our R1 and R2 areas. We're recommending 4 units per acre or less. Medium density housing is going to be the R3 area. That will be between 4 and 10 units per acre. And high density will be the R4 area. That's 10 units per acre up to 30 units per acre. So if an apartment developer were to come in, we would tell them the maximum that they could put per acre is 30 units of housing. And I'll show you on a map a little bit more of what these mean, but I kind of wanted to go through the different sections first. Next is work. In Sueur, we have different areas where work can be done, and we're going to break those down into 3 areas. They'll be commercial and industrial areas. So general business is going to be B2, and some cities call this highway business. This is more where you're entering into town. You see businesses that provide goods and services to regional customers. So it could be local people, regional people. This is where you would go to find those businesses. Then we'd have light industrial, which is a lower density industrial use. They don't have as much truck traffic and they don't have exterior storage. So it might be a small manufacturer who maybe does everything inside of their building and doesn't have a ton of trucks coming every day, doesn't have a lot of heavy equipment sitting around outside. And then we have general industrial, which will be I2. And this is a more traditional manufacturer. They will have heavy exterior storage, a lot more truck traffic, and they will be put in an area that can accommodate that traffic better. Next is prosper. I thought this was kind of an interesting term. Prosper is meant to be our commercial housing and entertainment district. And basically the area that they identified as prosper was our downtown area. We would still like to consider it a downtown. We want to go forward with the mix of commercial and residential within the downtown area, but we're recommending breaking it down into 2 areas. The first would be B1A, which is still in the downtown area. It still has entertainment, but if there's going to be housing in there, the housing should be done in the upper level, so the 2nd story. Then in the periphery of the downtown, we are going to call that area B1B. That's where we're going to have more of a residential. So if you come in and apply for a conditional use permit, you could have residential on the main floor. On the next screen, I wanted to show you that a little bit better because it seems a little bit confusing. So you can see our zoning map that we're working off of right now. We do have B1A and B1B, but they're a little bit hard to see. So what Nate did is he broke it down even better. So the core downtown area, the area that's in red, if you're going to have housing there, it has to be on the 2nd floor. So Wise Furniture has housing upstairs, Max and the bar both have housing upstairs. If there's any rehab that's going to be done to the mall, the housing will need to go up on the 2nd level there. And then anything in the periphery of that, you could have housing with a conditional use on the main floor. So for instance, one of the parking lots, the parking lot adjacent to the mall, if ever redeveloped, they could potentially ask to get a conditional use permit to have housing on the main level. But our core downtown will always have housing on the 2nd story. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Next slide, please. Conserve. Conserve is an area in town that they kind of threw whatever was left into the conserve area. So it was our parks, our natural resources, our flood area. Staff is proposing that we break these into 2 different areas. One of them we're going to call urban reserve. So there are some lots left in town that are considered urban reserve, and those are close to the Doppy Lane Woods Drive area that was discussed this evening. That area has some lots that are here in town, but that do not have city water, city sewer. So those are areas without urban services. So we will call them urban reserve. At some point, they may ask to be extended to city water, city sewer, but right now they don't have those. Or it could be a park area or a flood area that doesn't have city water, city sewer, and it probably never will. The next area that we're asking for is called public institutional. So these are permanent public uses. That would be any of our cemeteries in town, the city land that's owned, city offices, the school district, those areas are permanent public uses. So those will now be identified by a P on the map.
Okay.
So now we're going to take a look at our land use map. So you can see the current land use map and kind of where the kind of creates the predicament that we are in. Everything in the orange color, they called live. But as I said, that's very hard for if someone, a new residents may be coming into town wanting to buy a property, that doesn't really tell them what type of property is going to go next to them. Same with work, just it's covered in purple, conserve is green, and prosper is the downtown. And we just felt from a staff perspective, from a citizen perspective, we need to give better information than that. And so you can see the future land use map that's on the side of it. What's important about this too is it shows residents, and you can see an area, the hospital in here is actually, right now on our current map, it'll be institutional, but you can see on here we have it in a brown for high density residential. The reason we did that is because if the hospital were to ever leave public use and were to be repurposed in some way, we could see it maybe turning into a high density residential. So there are some areas that, another one on here is St. Anne's School. If St. Anne's were to ever come forward and say we would like to build a new school, maybe somewhere else, that were to go out of the public institutional, we could see that being maybe a medium density residential. So we're looking forward to the future to show people this is what it is now, and these are our future land uses. Nate, if you have anything and you're on here and you want to chime in, please let us know. Next is the future growth area. We, as a staff, would like to work on some transportation and some utility planning. In order to do those plans, we need to know how land is going to develop in the future. So if we have an area that's maybe going to be a high density residential and we need to make sure that it has the water capacity to serve that many households, up to 30 units per acre, we need to make sure that we're putting in the correct type of infrastructure that goes along with it. So it's very important from a planning perspective to have a future growth area. We've also gone through and identified areas where maybe new roads should go. That's something that we really want to work on. And in order to plan a road, we need to make sure that if we know if it's going to be a commercial industrial area, the road that needs to be designed for that area has to be able to handle a higher truck capacity than maybe an area that's going to only have 4 homes per acre. So it's really important going forward that we're able to say how we expect the city of Lesueur to develop. So we've created a map to go along with that. I appreciated Nate had gone through, and I believe on this one, and hopefully I put the right map on there, we kind of went through again to show areas that we think that we have now, but also areas that might develop in the future. So on here you can see there's some land in town that we don't own. A lot of this land isn't within city limits. It goes all the way up to County Road 19. And I think first glance at looking at this, it seems like there's a lot on this map of where Lesueur could grow. But you never know which direction or which landowners may want to sell their land next. So it's important from a staff perspective that we give at least, I think we went a 2-mile radius from Lesueur out. And I think, as I said, from a planning perspective, it's very important as we're working on our CIPs that we have these areas identified on where we need to put different types of utilities. So from the map, you can see areas around the airport that will continue to grow as a light industrial. The nice thing about that area is right now it has the capacity for the city water, city sewer, and as we're doing the 112 extension, that will add that capacity. So that's why we've kept it there. And then in between different areas, and I'm hoping Nate's on here to add a little bit more, but in between these areas, they kind of create buffers. So in between going from a residential area, you don't want to go right to a heavy industrial area. So that's why in between there we'll maybe put a medium density residential area. We've gone through and just tried to create different buffers in between the different zones that make sense. And I don't know if I have my maps sorted up, so I don't know if I have the same map on the next one, if it's the same one. But Nate had gone through and identified areas where traffic's a concern and where different things are concerns. I apologize, I missed that map. But that kind of went into his planning to create this map, is to help us try to figure out, you know, if we have traffic coming into town, how do we have that traffic avoid our residential areas and still create the growth that's needed? So the Planning Commission did review all of the maps that we're discussing and all of the amendments, the wording that we're asking for. If you agree, then you should authorize via resolution to approve the comprehensive plan amendments related to the and the designations and the extraterritorial land use planning that we're presenting this evening. And I'll open it up if you have any questions. I went fairly quickly through this, but I'm hoping that you all had a chance to review it.
Director DiMaggio, this is Mayor Haig. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
A couple of questions for you, ma'am. First question would be the PowerPoint presentation that you've just presented to us. It's got some very valuable information that we do not have included within our packets. The first 4 or 5 pages in particular. Is it possible that you could go ahead and send that to all the council members? Because it's a very good, 1,000-foot level approach of everything that you've got included here within these 25 pages or so associated with 7 Alpha. And I think it'd be very good for all of us to have that information to put within our comp plan manuals that we each have. And the second thing I want to ask has to do with the transportation and utility plan. Just to be clear, by City Council approving the comprehensive plan amendment tonight, should we choose to do so, it's at that time when staff will go ahead and start working on putting together the transportation utility plan, and that would be available by fall of 2020. Is that correct?
I think that's what our hope is. I've never done a transportation and utility plan. I'm hoping that Rich is on the phone, that Mr. Couture is on the phone. He and Jasper are more of the transportation experts in our wheelhouse. But I know this was my portion that I really needed to work on. It was to show where we thought future land growth was going to go in order to prepare for transportation and utility planning. So that is the next big step that will come.
Mayor Hague, this is Jasper. I can chime in a little bit about that. Thank you. Mayor, City Council members, that is the plan. That has been identified as a goal for the City Council. It was identified actually in our 2018 planning exercise for 2019 and 2020. This is an integral step to be able to basically give a consultant that's looking at our transportation plan. We have to give them something to look at as far as where we think we're going to be in the future. It is an encompassing map, but we really don't know. We're in this area where in 40 years, we don't know exactly what LeSueur will look like. I think it's safe to say we're on a freeway right now, and there's likely that we're going to start sprawling to the north, more so than to the south, just because of the metro influence. But that's exactly right. If this is approved tonight, we would get started on looking at developing a request for qualifications to have a transportation and utility plan completed. And what we would shoot for is to get that done by fall of 2020.
Follow-up question, if I may, Administrator Krugel, regarding the various townships that surround LeSueur and also at the county level. Perhaps you guys could walk us through what the process involves now. Again, if this program is, or this amendment is approved tonight, what happens next in regards to the township communication and or the county?
Yes, Mayor Hague, members of City Council, this is Jasper talking. What we currently have in an arrangement with the county is, I believe in 1986, there was a ordinance or a resolution, I think it was a resolution passed requesting that the county basically consult the city of any sort of development that changes the land use within 2 miles of the city of LeSueur. That was kind of a blanket, here's our priority growth area, 2 miles from our corporate limits. The county knows they occasionally send us something asking about some sort of land use if it's within 2 miles. What we do is we make sure that the county has this information as far as what our priority growth area is, and if there's any sort of land use changes within there, we have the opportunity to make comments on that. Regarding the townships, the next steps, and this is something we've talked about, and I believe the city of LeSueur hasn't had in place ever that I could find, are what are called orderly annexation agreements. So we reach out, we discuss with the townships what it looks like to annex property that's outside of the city corporate limits and in townships, and what the payment schedules as far as taxes, fees, things like that looks like. Sometimes these things put limits on how many acres can be annexed every year or a certain time period, but that would be the next step to do. And I think that even without this, we were talking with some of our township friends about doing this, just because Ottawa Township, I think we had a couple annexations. It would be good to have a document in place that we can rely on and look at for future reference as far as, you know, who are we talking to? What are the terms that we've agreed to? Things of that nature. So there's a county component and a township component that we would have to fulfill if this is adopted.
Okay. Anybody else from City Council have any questions for Director DiMaggio or our City Administrator?
Mr.
Mayor Hague, this is Scott Schleter. I just wanted to make a comment.
Go ahead, please.
This is Council Member Schleter. I had addressed the City Council back in the October-November timeframe when I was on the Planning Commission and had requested that the future land use plan be put as a priority item. I just wanted to thank Director DiMaggio, the Planning Commission, and Nate Sparks. This is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Krogman, was that you that wanted to say something, sir?
Yes, it is. There's two things. One is I'd like the council to know that the Planning Commission really did look at this very carefully, and they asked some very good questions. And ultimately, they unanimously, as I recall, recommended what you heard recommended tonight. Secondly, I believe that the slides you asked for, Mr. Mayor, were actually sent to each council member by the city administrator late this afternoon, and that's where we'll have him confirm that all those slides we just saw were the ones that we have.
Mayor, members of City Council. Yes, if I may, I did send out the PowerPoint presentation. It was late in the afternoon. I apologize for that. I'd like to get it out a little sooner. But that overview of as far as the live, work, prosper, and what we've transitioned to, that's all in there. So if you have any questions or need additional information, please reach out and we can clarify anything.
I appreciate that. I think we're all going to benefit from it. For whatever reason, I did not see it. I'm sure I haven't. I just have not had an opportunity to open that particular email, I guess. Is there anybody else from City Council?
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilmember Krogman again. Certainly, if a member of the public wants that, the city administrator and staff can make that portion, or it's a PDF copy of the PowerPoint slides, so it could be available if somebody wanted it.
Thank you for that input. Anybody else have any questions, concerns, thoughts, ideas in regards to agenda item 7 alpha? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion then to approve these plan modifications and authorize the resolution approving the comprehensive plan amendments related to the use designations and extraterritorial land use planning.
This is Councilmember Schlueter. I'll make the motion.
And this is Krogman.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Schlueter.
Krogman.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, of City Administrator Kruger, will you please do the roll call, please, sir?
Yes, Councilmember Favalis.
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington.
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby.
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman.
Aye.
Councilmember Schlueter.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Aye.
And Mayor Hague.
Aye. And again, I would like to pass on City Council's appreciation for a very well thought out document and a lot of hard work put in by our Planning Commission and of course by our Director DiMaggio for her leadership on getting this particular item taken care of so that we can go ahead and proceed to go ahead and take care of other things we need to do relative to our comp plan. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We now move on to the next item on the docket, 7 Bravo, which is Chapter 115, Rental Regulations, Ordinance First Reading. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, before you is an update to Chapter 115 in our City Code. In particular, a couple sections that are related to our enforcement mechanisms related to rental licenses in particular. Really what we've come across is a difficulty in enforcing our rental licenses and basically somebody that's not compliant with their rental licenses as far as the enforcement mechanism goes. What we've done and and I'll turn this over to Ms. DiMaggio as well here shortly, but what we currently have is we have the ability to charge somebody with a misdemeanor if they're not in compliance with their rental ordinance. Now that after discussion with the police chief and the building official, that's kind of a difficult thing to do. If that would go to a court setting, likely what would happen is the district court judge would indicate that, hey, just work this out, And what we've done here is we put actual fine language in here so that if there's a day or per day fine and a maximum day fine for a landlord that isn't complying with the rental ordinance and isn't complying with getting a license, we have some actual teeth that we can use to try to get these individuals to comply. And in reality, this is really about public safety in the ability to have safe rentals in our community and us being able to enforce the ordinance. With that, I'll turn that over to Ms. DiMaggio, and she can kind of fill in. This is the first reading. What the recommendation is to waive the first reading, give staff some feedback on some of the language changes if there are any. There is the one that we have received so far is just capitalizing city council in some of the language that we have. But this is the first reading. If you see anything that you would like changed, definitely let us know. We can make that change for the second reading, and then even at the second reading, we can make some changes if we choose. So with that, I'll turn that over to Community Development Director DiMaggio.
Director DiMaggio, welcome again.
Thank you, sir. This was actually drafted by our building official, Justin Nielsen. I volunteered to attend the meeting this evening on his behalf, so I'm going to do the best that I can going through it. As I said, he did the drafting and I reviewed it, and I appreciate his hard work on this. There are a couple sections that we would like to add to the rental regulations. That's section 115-97, recovery of costs, and 115.98, administrative citations and civil penalties. We also just want to make a couple of small changes to 115.99 penalty. The addition for these sections is to help the city recover the costs associated with enforcing the penalties. Currently, we have no mechanism to recover the costs incurred by the city. So if there's any costs having to charge someone with a citation or criminal charges, the costs associated with this are actually absorbed into the city's budget. So we're looking for a way to help us to get funds when these situations come up.
Okay.
Recovery of costs. So as I said, the first, and everything on here is new. None of this was in the rental regulations before. So I didn't want to highlight everything in red to give you a crazy headache, but basically what we're asking is that costs incurred by the city, such as admin costs, enforcement costs, attorney's fees, that basically the property owner involved is going to have to pay for those fees. So we're asking that this will come to the city council, of course, ahead of time and talk about it, but we want to be sure that we can charge a special assessment assigned to the property, and that's how the person will pay the city back. The personal obligation, the city council may order that the charges shall be made a personal obligation of the property owner or assess the charges against the property involved. If you decide that you want to charge the personal obligation of the property owner, it shall be directed that the city attorney collect the same on behalf of the city by the use of the appropriate legal remedies. If we want to go as a special assessment, the city council will orders that the charge will be assessed against the property. It shall be levied and collected as a special assessment in the manner provided by Minnesota statute. Prior to submission of assessment by the county, the city council will have an assessment hearing. The assessment will be adopted, and we'll add an administrative fee up to 15%, depending on the amount of the administrative time and the related expenses. And then that will also be added onto the special assessment itself. The assessment shall be payable in a single installment. Repayment of funds, all money recovered by payment of the charge or assessment or from the sale of the property at a foreclosure. So let's say the person is no longer at the property, they let it go into foreclosure. Anything at the foreclosure sale shall be paid to repair or a demolition fund. So if the city has to somehow demo the property, now we have some funds to be able to do that, so it's not at the cost of other taxpayers. So the next chapter we're adding is the administrative citations and civil penalties. The purpose of this is the city council finds that there's a need for an alternative method of enforcing the rental housing ordinance. While criminal fines and penalties have been the most frequent enforcement mechanism, there are certain negative consequences for both the city and the accused. Some of those are the delay in the criminal justice system. The individual doesn't want to be labeled as a criminal or have some type of record with them. The higher burden of proof and the potential of being incarcerated do not appear appropriate for many administrative violations. The court system does not always regard city code violations as being important. Accordingly, the city council finds that the use of administrative citations and the imposition of civil penalties is a legitimate and necessary alternative method of enforcement. This method of enforcement is in addition to any other legal remedy that may be pursued. So this is all new language that we will be adding on there. And I know it's a lot at the first reading, so as I said, if you see any changes that you'd like to be made, please let me know.
Okay.
The next is the general provisions. So a violation of any provision of this article as an administrative offense, which shall be subject to an administrative citation and civil penalties and or a misdemeanor. So we could go ahead and just charge them some type of civil penalty, or we could charge them a misdemeanor, or we could do both. Each day a violation exists constitute a separate offense. So we've had some people in the past that we've told them, you know, they are in non-compliance for 2 months. Every single day they could be charged with a misdemeanor. But as I said, going forward, that's been a hard thing for us to try to hold people accountable to. So that's why we're asking for something, maybe a fee for every day that the property isn't cleaned up. An administrative offense shall be subject to a civil penalty not exceeding $2,000 and or a misdemeanor. The city council shall adopt a resolution, by resolution, a schedule of penalties for offenses initiated by an administrative citation. The city council may also adopt a fee schedule and expenses to be paid to administrative hearing officers. Review of this fee schedule and any fees that will be added, of course, we'll bring to you for review. The city administrator and his or her designee shall adopt procedures for administrating the administrative citation program. So we're asking in this case that either we could have, as I said, a citation or a fee or both. The administrative citations, any person authorized to enforce the provisions of this article may issue an administrative citation upon belief that a violation has occurred. The citation may be issued in person and or first class mail to the owner of the rental property or the owner's agent if known, or to any other person known to be responsible for the violation. In the case of a violation involving a motor vehicle, a copy of that citation shall also be attached to the motor vehicle. So if someone's got some junk cars piling up in their yard that they're not supposed to have at a rental property, that might be something where both would be included. The citation shall state the date, the time, and the nature of the offense, the name of the issuing person, the amount of the scheduled penalty, and the manner for paying the penalty or appealing the citation. The person responsible for the violation must either pay a scheduled penalty or request a hearing within 30 days after issuance of the citation. Payment of the penalty constitutes admission of the violation. A late payment fee of 10% of any scheduled penalty amount shall be imposed. Administrative hearing. And this is all, again, new information. So an administrative hearing, notice and hearing. Notice of the hearing shall be served in person or by mail on the person responsible for the violation at least 10 days in advance of the hearing, unless a shorter time is accepted by all parties. At the hearing, the parties shall have the opportunity to present testimony and question any witnesses, but strict rules of evidence shall not apply. Because I'm not sure exactly what that means, but we'll have to ask about that. The city council shall record the hearing, receive testimony and exhibits, and provide the record of the proceeding and any exhibits to the city within the city council's decision. The city council shall receive and give weight to evidence admitted, including hearsay evidence, which possesses probative value commonly accepted by reasonable and prudent people in the conduct of their affairs. And then this section is continued if we have to have a subpoena upon the city council's own initiative or upon written request of an interested party demonstrating the need, the city council may issue a subpoena for the attendance of a witness and the production of books, papers, records, or any other documents or materials that need to be heard. The party requesting the subpoena or the city, if issued by the city council's own initiative, is responsible for serving the subpoena in the manner provided for the civil actions and paying the fees and expenses of the witness. A person served with a subpoena may file an objection with the city council promptly, but no later than the time specified in the subpoena for compliance. The city council may cancel or modify the subpoena if it's unreasonable or oppressive. A person who without just cause fails or refuses to attend and testify or to produce the required documents in obedience to the subpoena is guilty of a misdemeanor. Alternatively, the party requesting the subpoena may seek an order from the district court directing compliance. If the accused fails or refuses to comply with the subpoena, the facts sought to be proved through the compliance with the subpoena may be found by the city council to have been admitted. So basically, if we're trying to get someone to come and testify and we're having issues getting that person here, then that gives you other alternatives. And then notice and hearing. Notice of the hearing shall be served in person or by mail for the violation at least 10 days in advance of the hearing, unless a shorter time is accepted by all parties. At the hearing, the party shall have the opportunity to present testimony and question any witnesses, but strict rules of evidence shall not apply. The city council shall record the hearing, receive testimony and exhibits, and provide the record of the proceedings with any exhibits to the city with the city council's decision. The city council shall receive and give weight to the evidence admitted, including hearsay evidence, which possesses prohibitive value commonly accepted by reasonable and prudent people in the conduct of their affairs. And then continuing with the administrative hearing, then a decision, the city council has the authority to determine that a violation has occurred, to schedule a penalty, to reduce, stay, or waive the scheduled penalty, either unconditionally or upon compliance with appropriate conditions, and to dismiss a citation. When imposing a penalty for a violation, the city council may consider any or all of the following factors. So the duration of the violation, the frequency of the reoccurrence of the violation. We do have some repeat offenders in town, so you may want to get stricter as if these issues continue. The seriousness of the violation, the history of it, the violator's conduct after issuance of the citation or notice of the hearing. If they automatically clean things up, maybe they just were unsure that it was something that wasn't incorrect. That would be great. The good faith effort by a violator to comply, the economic impact of the penalty on the violator, and the impact of the violation on the community, and really any other factors that you think are appropriate to a just result. So the decision continued, the city council may exercise discretion to oppose a penalty for more than 1 day of a continuing violation, but only upon a finding that the violation causes a serious threat of harm or impact to the public health, safety, welfare, or that the accused intentionally and unreasonably refused to comply with the requirements of this article. The city's council decision and supporting reasons shall be in writing, served personally or by registered mail to the last known address of the person served, and service by registered mail shall be complete upon mailing. A failure to attend a hearing constitutes a waiver of the accused rights to administrative hearing and an admission of the violation. The city council may waive the results upon good cause shown. Examples of good cause are death or an incapacitating illness of the accused, a court order requiring the accused to appear for another hearing at the same time, and lack of proper service of the citation or hearing or notice of the hearing. Good cause does not include forgetfulness, mistake, or intentional delay. And again, that's all new information that we did not have before. And then recovery of the civil penalties. If the civil penalty is not paid within a specific period of time, it shall constitute a lien against the real property, which the violation occurred. If the property or improvements of the property was subject to the violation, the property owner was found to be responsible for the violation, which shall be specified in a written decision of the hearing officer or a personal obligation of the violator in all other situations. A lien as provided in this section may be assessed against the real property and certified to the county auditor for collection with real estate taxes. A personal obligation may be collected by any available legal means. A late payment of 10% under the penalty may be assessed for each 30-day period or part thereof during which the penalty remains unpaid after the due date. During the time of the civil penalty remains unpaid, the city shall not grant or renew any license, permit, or any other city approval sought by the violator in relation to the property involved in the violation. Failure to pay the penalty shall be grounds for suspending or revoking a license, permit, or approval related to the violation. And lastly, under the penalty area, we're just asking to add something slightly. We're asking to add just a few words. So any person who violates this chapter shall be punished according to the law of the state of Minnesota. A violation of this chapter shall constitute a fine and or a misdemeanor. Right now it reads constitute a misdemeanor. So we're just asking to add either a fine and or a misdemeanor. So it was a lot of information, I apologize. But what staff is recommending is that we waive the first reading of ordinance 585 and provide staff direction to bring this ordinance back to the city council for a second reading on May 11th, 2020.
Well, you did a wonderful job reading it all to us, so.
Well, I'm so sorry. I didn't intend to read it
no,
all, but really you kind of have to read it all. It's
Yeah,
not something
exactly.
to summarize.
I guess my question I would have, Director DiMaggio, would be, when we wrote Chapter 115 for our rental regulations, to be clear, you're telling us that this language was not included within our original rental regulations, and over the time that we've incorporated Chapter 115 to the city of Sueur, we've run into some issues where staff found it necessary to include this type of language because of the different situations that have been encountered. And now we actually have something that has some teeth in the game now moving forward. Is that
Exactly, sir. Unfortunately, we just, charging people with a misdemeanor, it's very time consuming, very costly. A lot of times the courts, they're busy with other things and they don't want to see this and it's not a priority for them. So having the option to be able to charge them with a fine gives us a little bit more of a bite.
Okay, I agree. And my second question would be, obviously we've run this through legal to make sure that the language is conforming to the state statute as well as anything else, so that something like this document couldn't be thrown out down the road, correct?
Correct. And I believe that some of this has come from other people's adopted ordinances as well. So I think that, but it's my understanding that our city attorney, that I believe Mike Corey is the person who reviewed it for us.
Okay. My fellow council members, any questions for Director DiMaggio or for our city administrator regarding Chapter 115 for rental regulations? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion then to waive the first reading of the proposed ordinance updating Chapter 115 of the Sueur City Code.
So moved.
And that is
Johnny
Councilmember
Favalis.
Favalis. Okay.
This is Krogman. I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilmember Krogman. Any discussion, gentlemen?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, can we be clear about the motion? Does it also, do we also direct the staff to bring it back to us on May 11th for a second reading?
Yeah, thank you for adding that. Second reading would be conducted May 11th.
Yeah, perhaps the person who moved it should confirm that also.
Councilmember Favalis.
I confirm waiving
Okay.
this first and coming back.
For the second reading for May 11th.
Second reading for May 11th.
Okay. And Councilmember Krogman, you second that
Yes.
amendment to the motion?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
Anybody else? Anybody have any questions or concerns? Councilman or Administrator Krugel, if you please do the roll call.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Favalis,
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Thank you so much again, Director DiMaggio, and please pass on our appreciation to our building official. Very fine job. Thank you. And if I could go ahead and get a motion to take a 5-minute recess, please.
Member Sullivan, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Krogman, second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll be back on again at 7:45. Why don't everybody just leave everything as is, so we don't run into any problems with anybody being disconnected, okay? Okay, if I can go ahead and get a motion to go ahead and reconvene from our recess, please.
Krogman, so
Member
moved.
Sullivan,
Krogman.
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next item on the docket is 7 Charlie, the wastewater treatment facility update. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, before you is what I anticipate being somewhat of a quarterly or as needed update related to the wastewater treatment facility. As everybody's aware, we've recently dissolved the joint powers agreement that formed the Minnesota River Valley Public Utilities Commission, and the wastewater treatment facility is now 100% owned and operated by the city of Sueur. So what we're anticipating doing here is Public Services Director Kuchera is going to give an update, kind of similar to what, if you were one of the members that were on the MRPUC board, similar to what went on at that time, just giving pictures of items that may need replacement or that we should discuss, things like that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Public Services Director Kuchera, and we have a little presentation.
Director Kuchera, welcome this evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So for the wastewater update, a couple of few things. CIP, CEP, that is kind of our first and comprehensive CIP on the list there. This is quite the undertaking. I'm sure members of MRPUC, we talked about this. I believe you guys were requesting one for many times. What you see on the screen there is just a small little sampling of what we're getting into. We will be itemizing pretty much every component of every facility that has a life cycle cost and a life cycle maintenance. And with the spreadsheet, we can put in each unit, the model, we can put details. We'll eventually get categories, and then this will help us calculate out the annual cost to operate or to maintain, to have, and how much funds we need to be setting aside for our capital maintenance replacement of this vital equipment for treating wastewater. This is, like I said, just a little sample of it. The entire spreadsheet is actually very big, and we will work on that and hope to have that completed June, July of this year.
Okay.
Next picture here, we got the vertical auger. Members of MRPUC, you were around last year when we had to remove this for some repairs. The flighting, and that's when it was identified that the flighting was bad. So we are working on getting that either replaced or repaired, trying to find out the best option for us currently at this time. The dosing pumps, as you see there on the left side, we did get a new one, and that one failed relatively soon. It was under warranty, but with the whole COVID going on, replacement parts were not very accessible because everything is coming out of Europe. So it did take a few months to get those parts back together, but we are back up and running now, so this seems to be good. Tower media. This is for scrubbing, odor scrubber for the heated air returning from the dryer. So, I mean, this is another one of the many odor scrubbers we have out in the facilities. This, like I said, it removes the odor before it releases the air outside of the building to the general public. The biosolids meter, you'll see that there. That is the original flow meter that was installed in the facility, so it is at the end of its life, and that's why that is getting replaced. Ferric doors, they're being replaced with new chemical resistant doors, so we're going to get away from the metal, all the metal hardware and everything, because ferric is such a corrosive. It even creates a corrosive atmosphere around it, and so you need to get away from all metal substances you can, and that it will be our goal when we get those doors replaced so they can last a little longer. RAS pump, that RAS pump is one of 2 units. There's actually 3 that kind of look the same, but there's only 2 RAS pumps. This RAS pump, the motor is actually still good. Is the pump itself that is shot and is getting replaced. So we're doing that currently also.
And for the benefit of those of us that are not familiar with the terminology, what exactly is a RAS pump?
Yes, a RAS pump is return activated sludge. So it takes the collected activated sludge from the clarifiers and returns it to the aeration basin so it can continue to treat the incoming wastewater. It has all the matured bugs and microorganisms, we call them, that go back and then eat the wastewater and clean it up for us.
Mayor Hay, this is Jasper. If I may chime in just for a second. Some of these things, we were planning this exercise, and we're also going to eventually have a tour of the facility. It was tentatively planned for today, and we know we had EDA today as well. But eventually, I'd like to get all of the city council members to get a tour of the plant to kind of put all these things together, because it is a large, it has a large footprint. There's multiple buildings, building B, building C, just to get an idea of what is out there. A tour would be great, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, we're going to postpone that until we can safely do that and have people tour the facility. But that would also be a helpful tool for city council, especially members who haven't been at the facility recently.
Thank you for bringing that up. That was one of the things I was going to ask about, because I know we have perhaps a couple of our council members that may not have seen the Murph Puck facility. So this would be fantastic for them to get the opportunity. It'd be a good refresher for those of us that have been there. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, the pre-treatment room garage door. We all know that. Shouldn't say we all. MRPUC members and staff knew that that door was in very poor shape due to the previous screen system. It did not control the moisture in that area at all. It actually let a lot of moisture out, and that caused the corrosion to that garage door. So we're getting numbers to get that replaced so it works more effectively. One of the bigger tasks that, as we alluded to earlier, you know, we are seeing the regs and stuff, so that might affect our ability to clean up aeration basin 1. The goal is to take these down about every 3 to 5 years and clean them, get all the sediment and debris, rocks, anything that has settled to the bottom, and then you go through and you inspect the air distribution system, which is all PVC piping, air diffusion headers that are plastic and rubber, and then all the stainless steel supports for everything. So this is one of the projects that's on our list for this year, but with COVID and all the other items going on, this may be an item that may have to slide till next year.
Okay.
Clarifier 3, we need to replace the motor and the drive unit on this one. We did this on one unit last year. We found out that the motor and drive, gear reducer and motor drive are actually separate units, but what we're running into is that they've become one unit because of the atmosphere they were in. There was a little too much moisture being held in there when the HVAC systems were not being maintained properly. Now that we got the HVAC units being maintained properly, the units are working better, they're lasting like they should, and they're getting the maintenance they should. So this one will get replaced this year as it needs to. The RAS gates is an item that was identified in the capital plan a couple of years ago, and we're following up on it. That helps regulate the flow of sludge from the clarifiers to the aeration basins. They are also used to take the clarifiers out of service so the water can't come in. or sorry, yeah, can't back in from the other clarifiers. So they are having operational issues, but what we're finding out is the prices are not anywhere close to what staff was expecting. So we may be looking at this for a future project. Spring HVAC maintenance, that was all completed last week. There's only a few small minor repairs for the units, so we should be good for the summer season. Air filtration units, this is kind of like the odor scrubbers. These are more filtration units. They have media in them, plastic media. The media has a useful life, and as the conditions warrant, that dictates the useful life. Usually it's about every 2 to 3 years. It depends on the environment they're in. Obviously biosolids is going to have a little shorter lifespan and than anything else because of the high odors that it is in and the work it does. But these are in our maintenance schedule, and they have been done.
Mr. Mayor, Johnny
Councilmember Fabeley.
Can I ask Rich a question?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Rich, the air filtration that you show on the left, that's your that's the H2S filter, your hydrogen sulfide scrubber, or no?
Yes, that is the one in the pre-treatment area.
On the right, yep. With
on the right? Sorry, on the right is biosolids.
Biosolids. Your for
yep,
the
on the left is pre-treatment.
For the scrubber, how often do we have to change that media? What is our cost on changing that media? I'm curious. And do we have an order log there that's what tells us when we're releasing more of the gas than what we should be to change that media?
We don't have an odor log. I mean, staff can test it. There is gauges on there that show the pressure builds up in the different chambers as it goes through, and it can be $5,000 to $10,000, to change out the media in one of these. There are these odor scrubbers out at some lift stations also.
How do you wind up getting rid of the media once it's used? What happens to it?
Landfill. Just landfill.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mayor Hague, members of council, this is Jasper again. This is just kind of an overview of what to expect. The plan is to give one of these updates quarterly or as needed if there's something that happens that isn't planned. But mostly it's just to kind of get the group familiarized with the facility now that we own it. From a staff level, we'll continue. Hopefully we'll have a very robust CIP, CEP here for evaluation for the next budget cycle. But for the most part, it's our plant. We're doing the best we can to maintain it using, the budget that we have. And I think, I'm confident in the staff to continue to do that. It's something that we need to make last, and we still have 7 years of bond payments on the facility itself. So, the longer we can make some of these things last, the better it will be for the community and will directly affect rates.
Director Kuchera, this is Mayor Hague. Couple of questions for you, sir. First off, a compliment. I know that when I became mayor, we had a problem with odor coming from the north end of town, and I want to congratulate not only you guys now, but also starting back, when we were able to identify some of the origins of some of those odors. Thank you so much for eliminating that problem, because I have not heard a complaint about odor. I can't even remember the last time, so thank you so much for that. And the second thing I want to go ahead and say is that, again, going back 3.5 years or so, I know that we had talked about a preventive maintenance schedule, and I think there was about 800 some odd line items, if I recall, associated with all the different daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, and annual maintenance associated with our treatment plant. And it's very refreshing now to see that you guys are taking it upon yourself to actually go through and identifying these different items. So again, I wanted to go ahead and give you kudos on that. And then I wanted to go ahead and task our past MRF members, council members, Faveles, Huntington, and Sullivan to maybe drill down some of the questions they may have, similar to what council member Faveles brought up earlier in regards to the scrubber. Because if anybody knows that plant in regards to the city council members, it would certainly be those three individuals. So gentlemen, if you would please go ahead and present any questions or concerns you may have, because you certainly are expertise representing the council.
Mayor, this is Member Sullivan.
Councilmember Sullivan, please.
I guess I don't really have any questions tonight, but I just want to say thank you to Rich and the rest of the team for getting these items looked through. I know we've been asking for a long time, as far back as I can remember when I came on board with the wastewater treatment plant on the board. We've been asking to just compile everything and show us what needs to be fixed, come up with a timeline on what that looks like so we can plan for the future. So I just want to say thank you to the whole team.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan.
This is Councilmember Huntington. And
okay,
same thing, just did what Marvin had decided. We've been trying to do this for a long time, and I appreciate what Rich is doing and setting it all up. I know it's a lot of work, so thank you for all what you do.
Thank you, Councilmember Huntington. Councilmember Faveles, anything more, sir?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
first, that hydrogen sulfide scrubber was one of the main reasons that that we don't have the smell that we used to have.
Thank you for that.
Really contributed to it, which is why I was kind of curious as to what we wind up spending and how often they're having to make the changes to the media.
How often the media gets changed, right?
Correct. The next thing is that when they're talking about upkeep on the air filtration system in the HVAC in those buildings, it was monumentous from the first time that I walked through that wastewater treatment plant in late 2016 to the last tour that we had. It's amazing how subdued the smell actually is. They've done a fantastic job. Just walking through the facility from the first time to the last time, the cleanliness on the facility, Rich and the rest of the team have done a great job at cleaning up something that smells like what it smells like. You know, they've done a really good job with it. The question that I would have with this is, have we paid off the final amounts to the contractor for the work that we commissioned them for? I know that there were still issues. There were time frame issues. There was issues with with one of the manhole covers that was it was not the right cover and it was not installed properly. And I know that there was still blacktop work that needed to be done. Have those things been taken care of under that contract? And are we done with that, or what?
Yes, all the punch list items were addressed and taken care of. We actually received final as-built drawings last week, and staff reviewed them and gave the green light to go ahead. And so today we got the last invoice for the project from Stantec.
So what day did our warranty start on this stuff?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to dig back and look.
Okay.
It would have to be when we paid Gritter for completion of the project, which I believe was in February area.
Okay. Good.
And
Very good.
Gritter was the
Rich,
contractor.
please let Foster and the rest of everybody else know that you know, I can speak for myself for it. I'm sure that Mark and Mr. Sullivan, Marv would have their own feelings on that, but you guys have done a great job in my eyes. So thank you for all the hard work.
Other members
Thank
of
you,
City
Mayor and
Council,
Council.
anything
I will pass it
for
along.
Director Kuchel? Other members of council, anything for Director Kuchera relative to our waste treatment facility? Director Kuchera, I guess I have a couple of more questions for you. I noticed that you've indicated that we've been having some problems with people flushing rags and flushable wipes. Perhaps this would be a great opportunity for you to put out the word to the city of Sueur and also to the members of the community of Henderson, what that actually does to our plant and how costly of a fix that's going to be. And then secondly, my final question would be, have you noticed any additional problems either from the Henderson area of responsibility or to the area where that responsibility ends, moving on up to where our waste treatment plant is, going through the various lift stations? Anything that we should know about?
Thank you, Mayor. So the rag problem is really, I mean, with the whole COVID pandemic and then the toilet paper shortage, people have resorted to using other items and flushing them. We have put the word out on social media, and I'll say it again here, the only thing that is safe to go down the toilet is toilet paper. If it says flushable, it does not mean it's safe to go down the pipe. It needs to say on it septic safe, and that's what most toilet paper will say on it, is septic safe. The moist wipes, they just say flushable. They're flushable. They do not degrade in water, and they end up getting caught in impellers and slowing down pumps, plugging up pumps, stopping pumps, or we've actually had them get into check valves. And what happens then is when the valve tries to close, it can't close because the rags hold it open, and then the wastewater will actually flow back into the structure it was just pumped out of. So there's people costs, but then there's electricity costs and equipment usage increased because of the rags getting caught in the system.
So would it be fair to say then that if we can't get this problem rectified immediately, in addition to the already very high waste treatment bills that we have here within the city of Sueur, our citizens can expect to spend a lot more money in the future if we don't heed this warning and listen to what you guys are saying in regards to what can and what cannot be flushed?
Correct, because anytime you flush things that are not supposed to be flushed, it's going to cost someone down the road more time, and time is money, and equipment maintenance to remedy the problem of what was not supposed to go down the pipe.
Okay, going back to the situation with the Henderson portion of the system, as well as the lift stations from Henderson to Sueur, anything to report on that? Is everything working okay, or?
Yep. Yeah. We're having the same issue. We're having, there's issues with them, but it's issues you will have with any lift station, any type of collection point. We see the regs there just as well as we see them in the sewer. We have pump problems just like we do with lift stations in the sewer. So it's pretty homogeneous that what we see at one we'll see throughout. We're just grateful the spring was a light melt and we didn't get very high flows for very long.
Okay, I guess I did come up with an additional question. The industrial user agreements that we have with our industrial customers, have we gotten that taken care of yet? Such as potentially pre-treatment plants and things of this nature for at least one of our industrial users?
We are still working with, I believe the one you're referencing is Cambria. We are still working towards that one. And there's just another one that just came to light here in the last few months that we are working with too now. So there's a couple out in the open that we are working on. We're looking at updates to the city code to allow us to address this a little better and enforce our actions. So all that will be coming to you also this summer.
Okay. Anybody else have anything at all for Director Kuchera? Well, this is a non-actionable item. This was something to go ahead and inform City Council the status through the first quarter of 2020. So on behalf of City Council, thank you so much for a very detailed presentation, and we look forward to hearing this quarterly. Thank you so much. Okay, we now move on to line item 7 Delta, land purchase for PID 21.011.2700, second reading. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, before you is the second reading of the ordinance related to the purchase of a parcel located adjacent to the Sueur Municipal Airport. There isn't any changes to the ordinance. The one thing, and if I think this, if Rich, if you want to add anything, really the only thing that's changed here is the cost split. And with an additional grant funding related to the CARES Act for some of the stuff that Congress passed, there actually is not going to be any local match required for this project. We learned that between the first reading and the second reading. So that is a good thing. So we don't have to come up with, I think it was a little over $11,000 to from our general fund to do this. So it's gotten a little bit better, actually, the deal. So what we're looking for is there's an ordinance, I believe it's ordinance 584. What we're looking for tonight is a motion to waive the second reading if council so chooses, and then to adopt the ordinance. And what we do after an ordinance is adopted is we publish it in the paper, and then it becomes effective. So with that, I'll entertain any questions. Rich can answer some questions as well, but there really isn't any changes to the ordinance from the first reading. It's just the funding mechanism has gotten a little bit better as there is no local share.
Any questions from members of City Council? Hearing that, I'll entertain a motion then to waive the second reading and adopt ordinance number 584 for the proposed purchase of parcel 21.011.2700.
This is Krogman, so move.
Okay.
Member Leader, second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any additional discussion? City Administrator Krugel, if you please do the roll call.
Yes, Councilmember Favelis.
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington.
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby.
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman.
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Aye.
And Mayor Hague.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll now move on to line item 7 Echo Jetter Truck Financing. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, before you is the funding mechanism for a Jetter truck that was approved to be ordered and purchased back in November of 2019. This funding mechanism goes into, and this is something that we plan for, basically leasing this equipment like we've done with some other equipment and making payments over 7 years, or I believe it's 7 years for this project. Director Kuchera can actually fill in the details. He could probably give the presentation on this. So, but basically, this is the funding mechanism for a truck that that was approved for purchase back in 2019.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Director Kuchera or for City Administrator Krugel? Director Kuchera, do you have anything you'd like to offer before we move on for a vote?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I would actually like to put out there that we reached out to our two leasing companies that we work with, Kinetic Leasing and Government Capital Corporation. When the truck was ordered, I reached out to them and got some numbers, got the terms, see what they were offering. Just told them, just seeing what the waters are right now, said I'll be back March, April time when we know the truck should be coming pretty soon. So just in that amount of time, the original rate was around $5 and a quarter, and now we are at 2.85. So the waiting did pay off with good benefit for us, as we are saving a few $1,000s a year.
Great information. Okay, anybody have any other questions on this? I'll go ahead and entertain a motion then for City Council to approve Resolution Romeo 2020-008 for the lease agreement with Kinetic Leasing for $71,680 budgeted in the CIP for the years 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024 for the payments of this lease.
Member Sullivan, I'd make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Sullivan. Can I get a second, please?
Member Fabulous.
Okay, I'm sorry, who's the second?
Could be me or Mark.
Okay, Councilmember Huntington, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, and if I could get the city administrator to go ahead and do roll call, please.
Yes, Councilmember Favolis,
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
Aye.
All right.
When do we anticipate receiving this truck, gentlemen?
We were informed it should be here within the next few weeks. With the COVID, I'm not sure if that will stay to the next few weeks or if that'll get stretched out to about a month.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll now move on to line item 7, Foxtrot, the CASA 22 Improvement Project Working Hours. City Administrator approval.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, this is an item that you see come periodically to City Council requesting that a contractor has the ability to work outside of normal working hours that are listed in our city code. City Council has the ability to waive these requirements on a per basis or per project basis. So with this, what we've gotten is, or what we received is a request from SM Henches to be able to work outside of those normal business hours or normal hours, which are generally 7 to 9. I think it's 7 to 9 p.m. or 7 to 10 p.m. on weekdays and 9 to 9 on weekends. In particular, they're looking to try to start earlier on weekends. Staff supports this. This is it's an inconvenience for our citizens in these areas already. We want to be able to allow the contractor to work when they can, just so the project continues to move forward. We've been fairly lucky this spring with very few rain events so far, which can really delay projects in the last couple of years. But what we're looking for is just a blanket motion approving to allow the contractor to work outside of those hours, in particular, start at 7 a.m. on Saturdays. So with that, I'll entertain any questions about the project or what the request is.
Since we posted this meeting, Administrator Krugel, have you heard anything back from our community members in regards to what their position may be in support or not in support of this particular item, section 97.05, section B? Anything at all for the extended working hours?
I have not personally received any comments on this agenda item.
And city council members, anything at all?
Mayor Hague, this is Member Sullivan.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Hey Jasper, are they, so we're basically leaving it open-ended for the times, correct?
We are. You can set it how it is. I think right now the request technically is that they start at 7 a.m. on Saturdays, and that's it. That's what I would recommend the motion be, is that that their ability that they can work on 7 a.m. You know, well, let me I'm thinking out loud here a little bit. In the past, as you see from this press release, they requested to do some work at 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. and that was just to help out those downtown businesses, so they're not affected during their normal business hours. So the request technically is Saturdays, but I guess we are looking for a blanket. You can work outside of that. If you'd want to set it so it's, you know, something like normal work hours or 7 to 10 p.m. on weekdays and weekends, with some variation as approved by myself or Public Services Director Kachera, that would be helpful. Unless you feel confident that you know, they're not going to be working at 2 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday or something like that. We don't foresee that happening. They've been very good at communicating so far, and we don't anticipate them taking advantage of this in that nature. But it is up to City Council as far as how you want to structure the motion.
So would we be better off to just say 7 to 10 p.m. on all working days with the ability to go outside of that with proper notification?
I think that would be perfect.
Okay.
Anybody else have a question or concern? Well, Councilmember Sullivan, if you'd be so kind as to go ahead and frame the motion.
Yep, I'd go ahead and make a motion to approve the request to work outside of business hours of normal hours in section 97.05 and change it to 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on all working days with the ability, with proper notification to the city administrator or public services director to work outside that as well.
Sounds good. City Administrator Krugel, did you get that?
I did.
Okay. Can I get a second on that motion, please?
This is Councilmember Krogman. I have a question. Is it a matter of notification or is it approval of the city administrator or the public works director? If it's the latter, I'll be delighted to second it.
I would correct that to the second statement that you made there, Councilmember Krogman.
Okay. To be clear, folks, what we're saying is it would require approval by either the city administrator or the public works director. I will second that motion.
Do we have a motion or we have a second? Any additional comments, questions, or concerns? City Administrator Krugel, if you'd be kind enough to go ahead and do the roll call, please.
Yes,
Mayor, can I actually interject quick?
Please, go ahead, Councilmember Sullivan.
Jasper, if you do get those requests, can you just make sure that we are notifying people of it as well, like you did the first time around?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be sure. You know, what we did is door hangers. Those seem to be the best. If we are going to work out, or if they are going to work outside that, but I'll let City Council know because you may get some questions as well.
Thank you.
Excellent idea. Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan.
Here, this is Krogman again.
Councilmember Krogman.
I think this is really to the advantage of our citizens because it means the work will get done sooner and they'll have less inconvenience in their neighborhoods. So we're going to be reasonable about this, but we're going to try to get the project done for the benefit of our citizens. So thank you.
That's well said. Thank you. If you'd like to go ahead and continue with the roll call then, City Administrator Krugel, please.
Yes, Council Member Favelis,
Aye.
Council Member Huntington,
Aye.
Council Member Kirby,
Aye.
Council Member Krogman,
Aye.
Council Member Schleter,
Aye.
Council Member Sullivan,
Aye.
and Mayor Haig.
Aye. Okay, thank you. We now move on to line item 7, golf, the electric rate study. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Haig, members of City Council, before you is an item that Public Services Director Kuchera will discuss in detail. Really, it's an item that was identified in our capital improvement plan to be done this year. What it does is it looks at, it's quite a complex operation calculation to figure out what rates we should charge in our community for electric based on what the needs are for future maintenance, improvements, things of that nature related to our distribution system. The group that's proposed to do this is the same group that's doing our distribution system planning. So it ties really well together. We did have, I believe, $50,000 allocated in the capital improvement plan. This came in underneath that. So it's within what the proposed budget was. And with that, I'll turn it over to Public Services Kuchera to kind of talk about the details of the electric rate study.
Welcome again, Director Kuchera.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, this rate study is something we have talked about internally, and I wanted to thank Council for allowing us to put it on the CIP. We need to identify our rates to make sure we're staying with the current trend of the market. Where is the market going? Council has already approved the system planning study, which will do a lot of the key assets of the major infrastructure for our system, getting that into a asset plan or a CIP plan, along with the rest of the city stuff that city staff is working on, will aid us to make sure we have revenue levels that are adequate to maintain our distribution system and our customer service that we need. The other, we will be reviewing our existing rate classes to see if that is correct for the terminology that is being used today. Our existing rate structures, is it accurate? Is it fair? Is a rural, is a residential, is a general commercial, is a large industrial, the demands they put on the system. So are the service charges correct? Is the unit rates correct? Is there a different way we could charge for our customers? Is there time of use opportunities that we could look at for some of our customers to see, so they could possibly conserve more energy and save money? This will help us identify many of those.
Okay.
I will try to answer any questions.
This is Councilmember Krogman. Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Please, Councilmember Krogman, please.
Thank you. I would ask that we have a little explanation of the bullet which reads cash flow modification through service territory acquisition. Just a slight explanation of what that might mean, or what it does mean, rather, please.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So that line item is specifically as we are in discussions with the area to the north, with the Cambria properties. We are currently working with MBEC to get a service territory acquisition price for that. And when we do get those numbers, DGR will take those numbers and put them into our rate structure to see what it will do to our utility rates if the city wanted to pursue the service territory acquisition.
Rich, is it fair to say I'll just simply ask the question a different way. It would appear that having that information is critical when we make decisions about service territory acquisition. Would you comment on that, please?
Yes, I would say it is critical to making the final decision of service territory acquisition.
Okay, thank you.
Other members of City Council, questions for Director Kuchera? Director Kuchera, 31,500. Yes, I understand that we had $50,000 in the CIP for the 2020 budget. I guess my question would be, can you please tell us why this is something that we would have to go ahead and bring out of house to do, as opposed to why we wouldn't be able to do it in-house? And the second part of that question would be, with the fee structure we've already got set up with Minnesota Mutual Power Association, MMPA, isn't that something that we can get that information from MMPA or from some of their other facilities under their umbrella? Tell us exactly why we have to go through DGR to do this rate study.
Well, there's a number of complex parts that go into each rate, and that is part of figuring out what is the cost to actually get the service to a home versus a business versus a industry. Obviously, we all know, the larger the user, the better the customer. Well, that's good. So if they have a lot of kilowatt usage, a lot of demand usage, does that mean that it costs less to maintain that customer then, in theory?
Yeah.
That is where a consultant comes in and can help identify that for us. The price, yes, we can look at what other entities through MMPA are charging, so we can compare, but that is about all MMPA will do, is what I've been informed. MMPA does not really do a rate, cost of service or rate study.
Yeah, just to be clear regarding them, and maybe this is something Councilmember Krogman can comment on as well, because he's our representative on MMPA. But don't we already have like a fixed agreement with MMPA in regards to what our kilowatt hours are at these various levels, whether they're an industrial, commercial, or residential account?
This is Councilmember Krogman. I won't answer that question directly, except to say we need to keep in mind that our working with MMPA, Minnesota Municipal Power Agency, simply provides us wholesale power. What we do with that power, how we distribute it, which is really what most of this is about, how we distribute it internally, what our infrastructure is, what we need to be able to distribute that electricity, MMPA has no connection to that whatsoever. They're charging us a rate to get the electricity here, and we determine what to do with it. I'd like to defer any other questions then to our city administrator, who knows more about the technical side, but that's kind of the 50,000 view, layman's view of this.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor Hague, members of City Council, if I may, Councilmember Krogman is extremely, it's very accurate in the way he described that. Really, MMPA doesn't care how we get the power to the citizens or the users. What they do is they basically look at what we use at our entry points into our system, and that's how they bill us. We've looked at what other communities, basically every year when we do the budget, we look at what other communities charge for electric services. And generally we look more closely at the residential, but really it's the industrial users and things like that this will look at and help make sure that it's equitable for everybody. Because there will be some, one, if we are going to acquire some service territory, that price, there will be a cost there that we'll have to basically invest in for future use, because there really isn't anything out there right now. So really MMPA, they're like the wholesaler. They sell it to us. We get to figure out how to split that cost amongst the users. And that's what this really does. And it makes sure that it's a fair analysis of what's going on as far as our rate structure goes.
I appreciate the explanation. As we all know, we're going through COVID-19 right now, and we have really no defined termination in regards to when we expect to return to some level of normalcy, and whatever that new normal is going to be. I don't think any of us really know for sure at this point. For that particular reason, is this something that we absolutely need to do right now, or is this something that we could put on the back burner for down the road once we get through this COVID, and perhaps keep this 31.5 on the books? I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, I can address that. I would say if we've identified the goals of the community, in order to, I would say, even give one of our goals, which is to evaluate the electric service territory acquisition. This is something that we should do. This is also a measure that really ties into our goals, being financially conservative, or being good financial stewards. Right now, okay, we think we know what, basically we have a sustainable utility right now. There's a bunch of new inputs that are going to be happening on the horizon in the near future, potentially, that we need to make sure that our current rates are able to fund. And this will give us those options and give us different options for City Council to look at related to rates. So I would say if we truly want to move forward with some of our goals and being good financial stewards of that utility, we should really look at this. There was a rate study. We've done a little bit of research to see if we've done this before. There was a rate study that was kind of done in 2006. It was never formally completed from what we could find, but it looked at the same deal. And if you think of 2006, that was a time when there was the potential to acquire the electric service territory that is Cambria today. So it was timely in that sense, and I think those things just weren't completed. This is something like this really helps us ensure that we are being good financial stewards of the fund, and we are planning. And that's kind of a general theme that we've been executing over the last 3 years is being good planners for these types of things. And they do cost money, and it is a substantial sum of money. But I would say that in order to achieve some of those goals, we should proceed with this.
Again, Mr. Mayor, this
another question I would have, Administrator Kruger, would be, do we have any kind of an idea at this point what this is going to do for our various tiers of service, i.e. the residential customer, the commercial customer, and the industrial customer?
Mayor Hague, members of council, I can answer that. We don't know right now, but I will ensure you that City Council will be the sole authority that determines what those are. We'll get some information back from this group, and they will help us determine what those rates should be. They might be fairly accurate for where they're at right now, but they'll look at what the precedence is right now for the rates, and it won't be something drastic. If anything, it would be any sort of phased in approach if there are any needs. But really what we want to do is ensure that what we're doing right now is good and financially conservative and responsible for the community. And if we do need something, we'll know about it now, and we can plan for that over a period of time versus having to react to something and really see a large hike in a rate if that's what the study ends up coming up with. So it helps us kind of normalize those rates, if anything.
And just to be clear, if by chance it's determined that we've been undercharging customers at all levels, City Council would still have the opportunity to go ahead and override those rates when we put together the annual rate schedule. Is that correct?
That is correct. City Council does have the sole authority to set those rates. So whatever City Council chooses at the end of the year for 2021 is what can happen. We're just trying to gather as much information as we can and incorporate all these kind of outlying situations into what our rates should be to make sure that we have enough information to make sound decisions.
Mr. Mayor,
Anybody else have any questions for either Director Kuchar or our city administrator?
this is Councilmember Krogman. I don't have questions. I do have a comment, if I may.
Please.
I think we have to be careful with this to know that this is a multifaceted study, but one of the pieces is the service territory acquisition. And that's not some small deal. That's a big deal in terms of dollars and what we need to know to go into that or not do it. So this, I think, would be a really essential piece to make good decisions at that point. The other thing is to be very clear, I think, that Cambria is in a possible area of service territory acquisition, but they are not, that property is not the only place that this would include. In other words, the service territory acquisition is not just Cambria, if at all, but includes
Right.
other areas and other pieces of property, which are critical to our future development.
Correct. Okay. Anybody else have anything?
I got a quick question.
Then for city-
I got a quick
Go ahead.
question, if I may, Mayor. Sean Kirby.
Councilmember Kirby, please.
Jasper, you said the last rate study we had was 16 years ago. What would you forecast would be the next time we'd have to do another rate study? Would it depend on time or would it depend on growth?
If I may, Mayor and City Council, it's all situational dependent. So if there's a major industry that comes into town, or we lose a major industry, something like that that has a direct effect with what we're able to charge and what our revenues are, that's when we should do a rate study. You know, typically you can do kind of a market analysis and do some market adjustments by surveying outside communities, but in general, I would say, you know, every 10 years is probably good to at least have a touch point with this type of thing. Once we do it once to completion, then it'll be easier to do in the future because the data has been established and the process has been established. The 2006 cost of service study was never really completed or evaluated by City Council or adopted. It was just kind of I don't know. It just wasn't completed. So I would say we should evaluate it or look at it pretty closely every 10 years would be a good measure.
Anybody else? I'll entertain a motion then for City Council to approve the execution of electric rate study from DGR Engineering for a not to exceed fee of $31,500.
This is Councilmember Krogman. I so move.
Thank you.
Councilmember Favalis, second.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns before we move on for the vote? City Administrator Krugel, if you conduct the vote, please.
Yes, voting in favor, Councilmember Favalis,
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
No.
All right, 6-1.
Let the vote reflect 6-1 on the electric rate study, please. We now move on to line item 7, hotel, kinetic lease and capital lease item approval. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, before you is a purchase authorization form for a capital lease item. This isn't your traditional capital lease item where you have a piece of equipment. This is for materials for a project, and that's really the City Hall project related to the server room, the break room, an additional office, and some HVAC additions to the police department. You can see there's quite the extensive list of expenditures and receipts of that nature for this. What we're looking to do is get reimbursed for these items through the kinetic leasing program that we have. What we're looking for is a motion to approve the execution of the payment request form to get reimbursed for these items. I'll stand for any questions from City Council.
Council, any questions for our city administrator?
Jasper, Johnny Favalis. I know that you answered this question for me when I asked, but I don't know that the citizens would understand exactly what normally we're going for something that is a capital improvement, or not capital improvement, but a capital equipment plan is what we're getting leased items for. It's can you please explain how we're going for a capital lease item on a construction project?
Yes, I can explain a little bit more about how this works. Essentially, what we have is a company that says if you have a product, if you have something physical that you are purchasing, they'll let us develop a lease program for that. Now, this really a project of this nature, a construction project, has many physical products that are purchased and used for the project. Kinetic is fine with this. We've listed it out. We've had a budget for this project for the entirety of it. It started in 2019 and it's just finally getting finalized. But really, it's a unique way for cities to fund projects like this without having to front all the cash. Cities aren't able to take out a traditional loan in these types of things, but we are able to do a lease program. And this project was identified as one of those projects that we would do this with. So it's not your traditional funding mechanism of just coming up with the cash for it, but it was a way that we could do it for a fair rate, as opposed to bonding for something like this. We could do that as well. As it's kind of, I would say, a more traditional funding mechanism, but in that sense, a lease and a bond are very similar as far as what you can do with them.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, council members? So we budgeted this for the 2019 to 2023 capital improvement, capital equipment plan. But yet we're actually, if this is approved, we'd be executing this in 2020. So would this make payments go now from 2020 through 2024?
No, it wouldn't. So we're on a set schedule, and what happens is basically Kinetic has a funding mechanism, an account through our local bank, FFM, and there's an account balance there. So we've made our first payment. You've seen that come through disbursements for what the balance was that we've used out of that account.
Okay.
This will be an additional balance that we'll have to pay next year, but overall the amortization schedule for the lease is the same as it always has been. It's just we're accessing this money later in the life cycle of the lease. So after this, I believe that our Kinetic lease account will be basically done, and we won't have a balance. And whatever balance, if there actually may be a little balance, and what that happens with that is it rolls into the principal payment of that, and our payment for next year will be a little bit lower. So it's a little different. They fund it right away. We earn interest on it. So whatever we don't spend or whatever we didn't spend right away, we're earning interest on it. And after this project, this is the last, I believe, the last one for Kinetic leasing that you'll see as far as a payment request form.
Okay. Anybody else with any questions or concerns? I'll entertain a motion to approve the execution of the payment request form attached to this agenda item for $32,140.40 to be dispersed to the vendor from Kinetic Leasing Incorporated.
Member Sullivan, so moved.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a second, please?
Member Favalis, second.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns before we move on to a vote? City Administrator Krugel, if you please conduct the vote.
Yes, voting in favor, Councilmember Fabilis,
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
and Mayor Hay.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 7-0.
I'd like to go ahead and entertain a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
So moved. Member Sullivan.
Okay, is there a second?
Krogman, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, let's be back, gentlemen, then at 8:56. I go ahead and get a motion to reconvene from our recess, please?
So moved by member Sullivan.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second by member Favalis.
Thank you, Councilmember Favalis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried 7-0. Now move on to line item 7, India, the water and sewer bill adjustment policy. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Haig, members of City Council, I'll just give a brief summary and then hand it over to Public Services Director Kuchera. This is an item I've identified internally that we should have something documented, because right now the way that we're handling it is exactly what's outlined in here. But really what we want to do is if there's an identified issue in the community, like a property owner knows that they have a service line that's buried too shallow and it breaks every winter when it gets cold. We don't want that to happen every winter. We want that property owner to actually fix that service line, and that happens occasionally in town. But really, we want to. It takes a significant amount of time from staff to manage these requests, and really we want to make sure that these are in line with what City Council feels is appropriate too. So with that, I'll hand it off to Public Services Director Kuchera, and this is a framework that we've developed, but we would like input from City Council on.
Director Kuchera.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, staff has done some research on what other entities offer, and we've come up with what we are asking the council to discuss here this evening. The two different types: interior situational usage adjustment, which is, basically anything that goes down the sanitary sewer system. So most people see this as a softener getting stuck in a backwash mode, or a toilet fill valve not shutting off, or the bottom flapper not sealing so the water continues to run. It does happen also if a water line breaks after the meter in the house. So that would be one of the interior situational usage adjustment criteria. The other one is, like Administrator Krugel discussed, the underground leak adjustment, where the water goes into a main building, is metered there, and then is distributed from that main building to other properties through lines that go out of the building underground. If those lines break, that would fall under the underground leak adjustment. Like Administrator Krugel said, we would be using the previous 3 months average for the adjustment, so we would adjust the sewer to the previous 3 months and one of the criteria is they have to have it repaired, and there is an application form that way we can track and keep this into the file of each customer. So we are asking council to discuss this tonight, and if they are in agreements for it, for passage.
City Administrator Krugel, this really applies to the percentage of water that we are not able to account for when we go through our annual audit. Is that correct?
Mayor Haig, members of City Council, it's all linked together. We know what we forgive right now. So in the case in front of you, what you're looking at is somebody who used 10,000 gallons who normally uses 3,500 gallons. We know what that is. Really what this does is it puts it on the homeowner to make sure that they're being responsible and using conservation measures, in a sense, to make sure that they're not overusing water. This may become an issue, and you've heard us use the term conservation rates, which we've adopted, that we've currently adopted for 2020. Policies like this will only help us in obtaining additional water appropriations, things of that nature, with the Department of Natural Resources, or funding related to projects that we need. to get some sort of government funding, such as Public Facilities Authority loans. So things like this, although we currently practice them right now, it's always good, in my opinion, to put it down on paper so that the citizens understand what to expect when they have an issue like this. And I know we've had a council member have, you know, a leak issue in this sense, and this is how we handled it. We basically, you know, have them pay for the water, and then we give them a break on the sewer based on their previous usage. And this really just outlines it, you know, gives you either 2 or 3, or once every 2 years or once every 3 years, which in reality, you shouldn't be having, you know, water line breaking every 2 or 3 years. So it just really defines what we're actually currently doing, practicing internally, and puts it on paper so that everybody understands it and the policies out in the open.
Do we have an idea how many of these underground leaks we end up having in a given year?
I defer to Public Services Director Kuchera on that one. He's more involved with that on a daily basis with the water department.
Yes, thank you. 1 to 2 a year is what we deal with for the underground leak adjustment.
1 to 2 a year. Okay.
And if I may, I'll just differentiate between the underground leak and then the internal leak. We get quite a few more of those internal leak requests than just the 2 outdoor leaks situations that are occurring.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
Mayor Hague, I've got one question. If you can hold tight for, if we can hold tight for 1 second, I want to try and figure something out here. Oh,
well, while you're
never
doing
mind.
That, go ahead.
I just answered my own question. Disregard.
Okay. That percentage of undetermined water that shows up on our audit report, even though we put something like this into place, we're still going to have that percentage of undetectable water that we're going to be getting gigged on. Seems like every year we get gigged on that. This really doesn't do anything to address that issue, does it?
Mayor Hague, members of council, this is Jasper. No, it doesn't, and it's not intended to. We've implemented other things. You know, one of the major things that I know everybody's aware of is the water main leak on Docky Lane. So, you know, things of that nature. This will have a very small impact on that number. It could potentially have a little impact, but if people are you know, fixing things they should fix. So there could be a small impact, but you know, the amount of water that we've noticed that we lose every year, you know, that's substantial compared to this.
Okay. Director Kuchera, you said earlier that it's going to be the customer's responsibility to have the necessary repairs made. Maybe you could walk us through what that process consists of and what would happen if the customer chooses not to make the necessary repairs?
Yes, Mayor and Council. With the new advanced metering that we have, we can just look into the metering system, what we call the R&I, and we can bring up a meter and we can see if they have fixed it, if their flow history has changed. We can actually see the exact hour something would have happened, if they would have corrected it or when it started. So if the customer does not want to fix the leak, then there is no purpose to give them a credit because they are continuing to use that volume of water. It would be advantageous for them to fix the leak and then use this system to get their credit on the sewer side and get their usage back into normal range.
So with these smart meters, just to make sure I understand how this works, if you guys notice that there's an anomaly that's existing regarding the water usage, you contact the customer at that point then? I mean, does an alarm go off
Yeah.
or something like that? The extraordinary amount of water is being consumed by a potential customer?
Yes, Mayor and Council. Actually, Water Wastewater Supervisor Pete Burns actually does monitor the R&I for, they call them customer leaks, and he does reach out to those residents. We have a standard form letter that he adjusts to each customer to send out to them if he verifies that there is some sort of leak going on, and that way they are aware of the situation and what's going on.
And that form is this water sewer adjustment request form that's included within the packet, correct?
If this is approved, we will include this in the packet, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Anybody else have any questions, concerns?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Tavalis?
Yes, Jasper, this, the effect with this doesn't necessarily affect the missing water that we continue to have, because it's actually accounted for water and people wind up paying for that water.
That is correct. That is correct. The one area that may prove, and that's, I'd say there's a minimal effect, is the underground leaks that occur, and that's the leaks that are either behind the meter that we notice, that we have a way to meter that, to figure that out, because that's water that's lost to the ground that we can't bill for. So it'll have a minimal effect, like as Mr. Kuchera said, 2 a year basically, and it's the same 2 basically every year, is from what I understand. So there'll be a minimal effect, but not a major effect on that. We're working on other things, leak detections behind the meters, things like that to help us with these gallons pumped versus gallons spilled numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have anything? I'll entertain a motion then to approve the water sewer bill adjustment policy.
Councilmember Favalis, so moved.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
Councilman Huntington, second.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Huntington. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, of City Administrator Krugel, you go ahead and conduct the vote, please.
Yes, Councilmember Favalis,
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
Aye.
7-0.
Reflected, that's a 7-0. Okay. Okay, next item on the docket is 7 Juliet, CASA 22, Elmwood Avenue, right-of-way plat number 2 amendment. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, before you is an amendment to a plat that was approved by City Council back in, December of 2019. This is related to the county right-of-way along Elmwood Avenue, related to the CASA 22 project. The official name is Elmwood Avenue right-of-way plat number 2. And what this did is just change some of the temporary not the temporary, but the permanent easements that are located on the map, in particular with the property owner, that was recently negotiated. So these things have changed slightly. There really is no impact to the city. It's just a matter of, this is something that needs to be documented. Sueur County, through the project, has requested to have this evaluated by City Council. This has been approved by the Sueur County Board as well. This is just kind of the final step for us to approve it and for it to get recorded at the county level. So what we're recommending is that City Council approve the CASA 22 Elmwood Avenue right-of-way plat number 2 amendment, as included in the packet. Now, there's been some conversation about what has actually changed. You know, I don't want to single out a property owner for negotiations, but really it's in the Elmwood area, the Elmwood Circle area of the project, and that's just, there's like I mentioned, there's just a minor change to some permanent easements in that area. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Does it have any impact, Mayor Hague, is there any impact at all in regards to what this would do for either sidewalks and or trails regarding this property?
No, there's no sidewalks or trails that are affected.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment to the right-of-way plat number 2 as attached in the agenda packet.
Member Sullivan, so moved.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Sullivan.
Krogman, second.
Thank you, Councilmember Krogman. Any other questions, concerns, or ideas regarding this? Hearing none, I'll turn it on over to our City Administrator Krugel for a vote, please.
Yes, Councilmember Favalis,
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
Aye.
7-0.
Okay, the next item on the docket is 7 Kilo, resolution directing the annual review of the City of Lesueur Parks, Open Spaces, and Trails Plan. City Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, fresh in your mind is the Lesueur Parks, Open Spaces, and Trails Plan that was adopted on April 13th, 2020, just 2 weeks ago. Staff would like to evaluate the resolution, or have City Council evaluate the resolution that is included in the packet. Really what this does is it just directs, creates a policy that RPAC will review this plan and make any recommendations they feel fit to this. Ultimately, what we'll see with this plan is that this will be adopted at a future City Council meeting, or will be evaluated for adoption at a future City Council meeting to be amended to the comprehensive plan. So really, we're looking at really keeping our comprehensive plan as updated as possible, and really tasking RPAC with looking at this plan, which makes a lot of sense because that's in their realm of their committee. There is a note in the resolution. I will just make sure everybody's aware that if RPAC, for whatever reason, is disbanded in the future, which I'm not advocating for or anything like that, but this is really to say we need somebody to review it. And if RPAC isn't there, then that falls on City Council. So what we're looking at, the resolution 2020-009, directing RPAC to review and provide City Council amendment recommendations related to the City of Lesueur's Parks, Open Spaces, and Trails Plan annually. So they'll work into what this would do is RPAC would work this into their annual work plan to evaluate this plan and make any sort of recommendations to City Council for consideration to amend the plan and ultimately amend the comprehensive plan. So with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution Romeo 2020-009, directing the Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee, RPAC, to review and provide City Council amendment recommendations related to the City of Lesueur Parks, Open Spaces, and Trail Plans.
Mayor, this is Member
Favalis.
Sullivan. I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Sullivan, thank you.
I'll second. Councilmember Favalis.
Thank you, Councilmember Favalis. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts, ideas? Right now, I'll turn it over to our City Administrator for vote.
Yes, Councilmember Favalis,
Aye.
Councilmember Huntington,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now at our comments, reports, and items of appreciation. And why don't we just go ahead and go in alphabetical order? Councilmember Favalis, if you'd like to please start.
Oh, not a lot to report. I've been having conversation back and forth with Allison at the community center, looking at their plans for reopening of the how they plan to reopen the community center when it's safe to do so. And they've got a really good handle on this. I'm pleased with what it is that I'm seeing so far. And also, you know, get a chance to be able to talk about what we're seeing in the industry. And we had EDA meeting today. I think I'll probably let Marvin speak on that one. But that's really what I got.
Thank you. Councilmember Huntington.
Okay, Mayor, I've actually got two updates to two meetings I was attending. First of all, back on 4/15, we had an HRA meeting. We actually met 6 feet away from each other and masked to discuss the future, the construction, I should say. That was part of our meeting. And just to let you know, we go out for bids. I believe it's in May for the general contractor, and then from there they'll bid out the project itself. And what I'm going to read right now into the record is thanks to my executive director, Monica Milkow. I asked her today to do some type of update on what we're doing. And so I'm going to read like a press release that she's written up for me. And so this is not from me, this is from her, but what I'm going to read. It says that regular HRA board meeting held on April 15th, the board considered 4 final approaches to the relocation of the tenants and overall renovation of the Hillside Court Apartments. It was decided in phase 1 of the project will begin by doing the B and C wings first, and those tenants currently residing in wings B and C would be relocated to a temporary housing of their choosing, which is hotel or staying with friends or family members. The HRA will be covering all those costs associated with that relocation. This is a part of our expenses outlined in the grant that was awarded through POHP or POP, whatever we call it. Tenants will be relocated beginning July 1st, 2020 until January 31st, 2021, in which time the renovations of both B and C wing would be completed. Those tenants being relocated will be given additional stipend daily for out-of-pocket expenses when they've been relocated. Phase 2, the A wing renovation will begin in April of 2021 with tenant completion on the date of August 31st, 2021. Those tenants currently residing in A wing will be relocated within the facility to the current vacancies in B and C wings. This will save on the additional cost for relocation, as rent will still be collected and there will be no costs associated with hotel stays and daily stipends. So the current occupancy is as follows. A wing has 10 units, B has 8 units, and C wing has 12 units. And all these units are occupied by one person. The project team made a great effort to find solution that would capture most of our savings with the least impact on the current population being served. That's the update on HRA. Is there any questions?
So, yeah, question.
Sure.
So to be clear, for the people in the A wing, the idea would be they relocate into B and C because we're anticipating losing potentially 10 people from the first move,
Correct.
or from the first phase of the project.
First phase of the project, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And then my second meeting was this last Friday. We had a special meeting on the MRVT meeting, a special meeting over the computer like we're doing right now virtually. And transit money that through the state and through the federal government is being funded 100% now. And so we filed did a resolution effective today until the end of August 31st of this year, that there'll be no fares being collected MRVT. That goes for going to St. Peter and going to Mankato and back, or anywhere in town of LeSueur or in St. Peter. There'll be no fares because we're being reimbursed by the federal government. And this resolution, like I said, starts today, ends August 31st. We put an end date on it because we don't know what the governor is going to do. But should we have to go past August into the school year, there'll be additional coming up with that too. We'll discuss that as we go through the summer. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Huntington. Councilmember Kirby.
Councilmember Kirby here. I had a LeSueur Henderson Community Ed Advisory meeting last week. That was Tuesday the 21st, and most of that meeting was spent talking about a lot of the challenges we have coming ahead of us this summer, trying to engage kids with some of these programs without being able to get together. So, you know, there were some thoughts shared about engaging them electronically, which I think they're kind of burned out on after school this year. So we've got some other programs in mind that would be outside with some safe distancing, but those are all still in the works, and we're really kind of working hard on some of those different ideas. We're going to meet again next month too. So hospital board meeting, I have that tomorrow. That'll be done electronically, of course. It'll be interesting to hear what kind of updates we have going on with the crisis we have going on right now. One other thing, just kind of a community announcement, is people probably know the food shelf is still been distributing food through this crisis, but they're not doing it at they're doing it at food shelf, but now we're giving out vouchers, so you can't go into the food shelf, but they'll have the food ready when you pull up there. And most people know now, I think it's been announced that those vouchers are given out here at the funeral home. So that's every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 3:30. So we give them a voucher here at the funeral home, and then they drive over to the food shelf, and their box is ready for them there. So it's been working out well. And we're going to do that indefinitely as long as it takes to get us through this crisis, hopefully. So, and then lastly,
what was the times on that again, Councilmember Kirby?
It's 2 to 3:30. 2 to 3:30 every Tuesday and Thursday.
Tuesday
and there's
Thursday.
one Thursday of the month they go 2 to 5, and I can't tell you which one it is. I'm not sure.
Okay.
And then lastly, in conjunction with that voucher program we ran last Tuesday, the LeSueur Ministerial Association and the LeSueur Quilting Club came together and made some masks, which was kind of interesting. There were some, they were distributing those out for free. They were taking Goodwill donations. I think they pulled in well over $400 last Tuesday with these masks, and I could not believe the response. A lot of people came through, and that was open to anybody and everybody who wanted a mask. So they did quite well with that program. And that's my report.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Kirby. Councilmember Krogman.
I do not have anything this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councilmember Schluter.
First off, I'd like to put out a thank you to our essential and emergency workers during this crisis. Second, for reports, my meetings the last couple weeks have been pretty much listen-only information meetings that I don't have anything to report. And lastly, I do have a question for Administrator Krugel. Last week, during the Casad 22 construction, when the water shutoff happened, there was an impact for water on the south end of town on 3rd, 2nd, and Main Street. And I was just wondering if you had any updates on that situation.
Yes, this is Jasper here. I believe all that has been resolved. Basically what happened is we weren't able to isolate the area that was going to be impacted, and there were certain areas that lost pressure, lost complete water. So there were valve issues. So it kind of shows that some of the stuff that we rely on, like valves, don't always work the way that we want them to when they get very, very old. So it kind of reiterates that we maintain, invest in our road network and get some of these things fixed. But really what it came down to is we weren't able to isolate the area that we thought we were isolating through the valve network that we have. So that's it. I believe everything is functioning. There are some things that we've learned from it that we'll incorporate into future projects.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Councilmember Sullivan.
Okay, so the main thing out of the EDA meeting tonight that we discussed was a microloan program. It was tabled, and we had a meeting earlier this month that I was not in attendance at, and it was tabled at that meeting. Tonight we decided to vote that down, so we are not starting a microloan program for businesses because currently the federal government has a lot of small business loans available. But we did have a lot of conversation about being able to revisit that in the future if the need is there. So we'll see what happens on the federal end with this COVID-19 issue. We did do a REV sustainability plan where we approved a sustainability plan tonight. And we also approved the deed redevelopment grant money that we received in regards to the mall and opening a Main Street. Outside of that, I do have a couple of questions. The first one being for Jasper or Rich, I don't know which would be the right one. But there's a property, I was asked about a property on Central Street that appears to have had a sewer line replaced last fall. It looks like they've replaced the curb and gutter, and since then it looks like that is all sank. Do we know the status on that property, or? I believe it's 101.
101 Central.
Yep.
Okay.
I can speak to that effect.
Okay.
Yeah, so Streets and Parks or Public Works Manager TJ Haggerty has reached out to the contractor about that, and the contractor is knowing of what needs to be repaired, and the repairs are scheduled to be done.
Perfect. And then I guess my second question, I believe Jasper is going to touch on it, and I think he put the image up on the screen. I had a citizen reach out and ask me about the Elmwood and Ferry Street intersection, about what that was going to look like. Apparently there was some belief that it was going to be a roundabout. Obviously we know that wasn't the case, but I just asked Jasper to put it up and kind of explain what was going to change at that intersection with this 112 project.
Yeah, if I could, you can see on the screen, I hope, the intersection of Ferry Street and Elmwood. You'll see that there's a slight radius change to kind of bring in the traffic coming in on, we'll call it, say, northbound Elmwood into Ferry Street at a more perpendicular intersection or angle. That's really the only change to the intersection that you'll see. There is no roundabout. It's really your traditional, T intersection. You will see, as far as traffic control goes, that CASA 22 Ferry Street will be a through intersection, and the stop will be on Elmwood coming in. So you won't have this odd two stop on a three-way street. It'll be a one stop, and that Ferry Street intersection will be open. So it's an odd intersection right now, and the county's looking to change that up and make it more traditional. So no roundabout, just a T intersection with a better approach when you're going northbound on Elmwood.
Jasper, to follow up that question, is there concerns about removing that stop sign with that being the primary route for school? I know that traffic gets to be pretty congested in the afternoon.
Yep, so the county's looked at it through their engineering, and it warrants to be removed just with traffic flows and traffic counts that we've seen there. We can always request, it is a county road, we can request to put a stop sign in, we could make it a three-way stop. But right now, based on the data the county's analyzed, that they're recommending that it's removed.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. And before I turn it over to our city administrator, Director Kachar, are you still on with us? Did you have anything, sir, to go ahead and present?
No, I did not. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Just a quick thing for myself. I'd like to go ahead and make a statement of thanks to all of our citizens for the job they've done regarding COVID. We all know that this is certainly something that none of us ever thought was going to happen. And we certainly appreciate all the efforts that our citizens are doing during this time of crisis. We very much appreciate, to Councilmember Kirby's point, about those that volunteered to make the masks. Thank you for that. And we also thank all of our citizens that are taking the time to look after their neighbors, especially our elderly neighbors that require maybe some additional attention now. We appreciate the shopping that you're doing, or just going by and checking up on them to make sure that they're okay. So thank you so much. If I could say anything regarding the COVID, please make sure to practice social distancing, and please be careful out there, because this is something that we don't want anybody here in Sueur to come down with this. As we all know, the results don't seem to turn out that well. So please be careful. We had a personnel budget meeting this past Thursday, and I'll let our city administrator talk about that. And I also wanted to ask our administrator, we've put it out in the last couple of meetings about some signage to give our citizens some updates by using a couple of the electronic boards we have in town, both at the school and also one of our commercial businesses. Have we got any word on whether or not we're able to do anything with that yet?
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, I can address those two items if you're wrapped up, Mayor Hague.
Yep, I am.
Okay.
I am.
I'll kind of start from the second question and talk about the electronic signage. Yes, we have reached out to the school district and to Cornerstone Bank, and they've both agreed to put on information about the city meetings. So if you've noticed, you may have noticed already that they're both putting out data about our meetings right now, and they're working with our communications director to keep that information relevant. So that may be a stopgap, a short-term fix for some of the things that we can do. I know that both the groups, want to limit it to meetings, which is perfectly respectable. And we are grateful for their help in this to try to get information out about how to meet. So we talk about remote meetings and make sure to check the agenda on our website if you'd like to attend the meeting. So I think that's working out well. And, I think that we're going to continue to look at what solutions we can afford and do in the community to help get out more information in a more effective manner.
Well, we're very much appreciative both to the school district and also Cornerstone for allowing the city to go ahead and use those boards. So please pass on our thank you.
We will definitely. We did have a personnel and budget committee meeting this past week. It was very good. We went over just the basics about what's going on with the city financially, related to COVID-19. Right now, all signs are pointing to our revenue mechanisms, such as property taxes. What we're hearing is that there isn't going to be a delay, and we're going to keep an eye on that, because that can have some pretty major implications to our operation. So we're looking at that. Our major concern is the community center. As you can imagine, it's a fee-based facility, and we're not receiving any revenues through membership. So Council Member Favelis alluded to this. We're really looking at an opening plan, because someday, eventually here, and hopefully the near future, we'll be opening up our facilities to the public again. And we're going to have to open them up in a thoughtful manner so that we can honor social distancing guidelines and things of that nature to ensure that we're not kind of epicenter for some sort of outbreak. So we're looking at that. We're working as closely as we can with some of our neighboring communities and areas of similar things in Minnesota. So look for that. You know, it'll likely be a phased-in approach from what I'm understanding from Governor Walz to open up some of our things. But you know, essentially, once it's okay to open up, you know, we'll say retail facilities, to have them open to the public, that's when I believe our facilities will open up, and we'll kind of use that. Things are operating well. I hope that if anybody has a question or needs to reach out to the city, they know how to do that. And I think we've been really good at adapting and being able to meet the needs of the community. You know, I get people messaging me on Facebook, asking questions, sending me quite a few more emails, just, you know, to try and get some information quickly. And I know that our administrative staff are fielding quite a few questions via phone during the day. So it seems to be working. It's not ideal. It's not as efficient as it once was, but I'm confident we'll get there. And if anything, we'll learn from this, and we'll learn how to do things differently if we need to. And it seems to be working. As you can see, our council agendas haven't gotten any lighter because of this. It's really, you know, we've had some pretty hefty agendas here the last couple of days or couple of meetings. One thing that the Personnel and Budget Committee did bring up is the possibility, you know, to try to keep these meetings to about 2 hours, which admittedly, so I took about 8 items off of this agenda that we potentially could have had on there, which, you know, obviously isn't feasible because we'd be here past midnight. But you know, we're actively trying to manage it, and I'm going to keep trying to parse it down to just the bare minimum of what we need to do, you know, to be timely. You know, we could look at in the future of doing some additional meetings if we need to, but really, I think we can get after the next meeting, which is already turning out to be pretty large because we have some financial items. We'll have our Q1 update from Zach Dowd, the finance director. We'll actually have the 2019 audit that'll be presented on the 11th. So it'll be kind of a financially heavy agenda, but after that, I anticipate it being more normal as far as length goes. So bear with us. We'll do what we can. These meetings are a little bit more difficult to run in a manner that's efficient. So things just take a little bit longer. So I appreciate everybody being you know, aware of that and working with us. Technology wise, it seems to be working. This meeting, I think, has run very smoothly compared to the previous meeting. But this is, I believe, our 11th remote meeting that we've hosted here at the city since this all began. So we're getting pretty good at it. I think, you know, council members and board members are getting better at using the technology. Use it a few times, you kind of really get to know it. So I appreciate everybody's willingness to work with the city on this, to hold these meetings remotely. And I'll just re-emphasize the mayor's comments about the public, just kind of the way that they can bond together and get things done and really act as a community, you know, in these uncertain times to really make sure everybody is being helped, and if there is a need in the community, it's no doubt in my mind being addressed by the great people that live in Sueur. So I'm here to help, and if anybody's listening this late into the night, you know, if you need something in the community, you know, we are a resource. Reach out. We will help you accomplish whatever you think you need related to COVID-19, and there's plenty of groups out there that are helping out. So that's all I have.
Could you maybe give us an update on the CASA 22 now that we've started that last week? Any surprises or?
You know, other than the issue with the water shutdown on the initial one on the first day, there hasn't been anything really to report other than, you know, it is disruptive. I've gotten some notes even during this meeting that, you know, they're working a lot. They were working at 8:30 tonight on the project, and really they want to get it done. So if the weather's nice and they can work, they will be working. And, you know, keep in mind that if you are, you know, experiencing a front end loader or an excavator in front of your house, today, that's not going to happen for the next 2 years. They're going to move on down the road and continue to do things in different areas. So it is temporary. It is needed. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind that this is needed for the road. But it is going to be disruptive, and it's you know, we thank everybody for bearing with us during this project because you know, we don't know if it's going to rain for the next 2 months straight, and then everything's very delayed. So that they really want to crank it out when they can.
Thank you. Now, in regards to the food shelf that Councilmember Kirby talked about regarding the vouchers and the days that they're available, is that something we have on our Facebook page and our city website?
You know, we don't right now. I could reach out to the food shelf again and see if they'd like us to share that, or we could go on their Facebook page and share it if they have that information. But we can definitely look into that.
Thank you. Anybody got anything else in closing? I'll go ahead and entertain a motion for adjournment.
Councilmember Huntington, so moves.
Okay, is there a second?
Sullivan seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much, everybody. Great meeting. Technology-wise, it worked tonight, so great deal. Thank you. Have a good week. Be careful.
You too, Mr. Mayor.